The Autobahn series is unique in that it is not meant to mimic any particular real-world racing series. But when the drivers show up to Le Mans, it's just too perfect to not make it special and extend the race length. This will be the only 2-hour race over the course of the season, and as such, this might just be the one everyone wants to win over any other round. Who will manage to use that extra impetus to snag a victory? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 8 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the prototype and GTLM classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Keeping us up on the GTD class is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Sam, explain to our audience a few of the details about this place, just in case.
Well, the actual Le Mans racetrack, Joe, is called the Circuit de la Sarthe, and as you can probably see by this graphic, it is very, very big. It is 8.47 miles at 13.63 kilometers along, 33 corners, and as you mentioned, they're going to be racing here for 2 hours today. And I know we've got our co-commentator here, Bill Zahn, in the booth, who always likes to compare things to food. If I were to compare this circuit to food, I would say it's like a cookie dough flavored ice cream. It's very good. Let's give you an idea of just how good with our GSRC lap guy.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman of the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Le Mans. Down the pit straight, you'll be picking up speed out of the relatively slow final chicane. Because of that, by the time you reach the Dunlop curve, even though it should be flat out, the fact that the racing line takes you off to the right means you'll need a little lift. Then you'll be braking hard for the Dunlop chicane. Those tall yellow curbs can badly damage the car, so try not to cut into the apexes too far. From there, you head under the Dunlop bridge and swing into the Chapel Rundown. Hug the car to the right side because you'll want a nice wide entry into the Forest S's. Watch out for the hump coming off the right-hander because you can lose the car by being too greedy on the power. Then you've got just a brief moment before you hit Tertre Rouge. This is one of the most important turns on the track because if you're slow off the corner, it'll hurt you all the way down the first bit of the Mulsanne. The chicanes break it up, of course, but this is still the fastest one of the 3 parts. Skipping ahead to the Forza chicane, picking your braking point will be tough but critical. Don't go outside of those cones to the left because you'll get an automatic slowdown penalty for abusing the track limits. Setting up a good exit would be wise because once again we get dumped onto the Mulsanne. But this time, instead of staying to the left, you head to the right side since the Michelin chicane is the same but mirrored. And as you'd expect, you'd approach it the same. Sacrifice a bit mid-corner to ensure a nice clean launch. Finally, at the end of this notorious stretch of road is the Mulsanne corner. The kinked braking means it'll be tricky to get the car slowed up from such a high speed. And while the gravel on the outside can keep you from plowing into the tires, it also slows you down a ton, and that's really bad news since you've got another long straight ahead. Yet again, it ends with some devilishly tough braking at Indianapolis. Brake hard, get the car planted, and try your best not to let it swerve into the Armco. Quickly, you've got to bring it across the track to line up Barnage. This is one of the slowest and most frustrating turns on the circuit, but avoid understeering into the wall to the outside, which narrows up and makes for a dangerous exit. After a slightly shorter stretch, you come up to the Porsche curves. They start fast and tighten as you go. Bridge with that big blue wall can be especially precarious, yet require you to get pretty close to help carry your speed. Karting forces itself to be a compromise because you'd like to let the car track out, but it's best to stay tight to the right to open up the final left-hander. It'll be really bad too if you exit too wide because this is another monitored spot that delivers slowdown penalties. Maison Blanche is a flat-out nothing chicane, and now you're coming up to the pits. Make sure to practice how late you can brake on the way in to ensure you don't get penalized for an unsafe pit entry during the race. But for now, we're slowing up for the Ford chicane. Try not to take too much of that red curb and then power your way out of there towards the line. Hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around the mall. There you see the lap around Le Mans as the Ford GT in the GTE class shows us the middle class. We'll have, of course, the GTD cars, which will be a little slower, and the prototypes, which will be a little bit faster. Never too fast or too slow is Bill Zahn, who always gives us the update on the points.
Let's go ahead and take a look at these right now. We'll start with the prototypes. You can see of all of the 3 championships that we're covering when it comes to the drivers, Jason Girard has the biggest lead of anybody. almost 40 points. That is a whopping number. You can see that Stephen McGarvey and John Ulmer have swapped spots for 3rd and 5th, with Billy Smith holding station with Carter Kundinger. Now, Gerard is here today, and he's going to be tough, as is Smith. McGarvey is not. He's going to need to probably take a drop race. Notice that these points include one of the 2 possible drop rounds allowed in the rules. We'll have both of the drop races calculated in next time. Let's go ahead and look at the GTLMs now. This one is interesting. You see Alex Simonik up at the top as he moves around Stephen McGarvey. But the name that you don't see on here is Dennis Savretic. He's late to the show. He's going to be very good today. Watch for him to climb up these point standings if he can continue to race throughout the summer. You can see that Jason DeVries moves up a spot, moving William Laster, who's having a very good, impressive debut season, down a spot down there. We go to the GT. This is the AM class here. And we look at these. We see the Mike Major sits at the top of the chart, Santana. You can see the rest of them down there. Let's go ahead and look at the team championships, and there's not a lot of changing going on this one. Everyone pretty much holding station. Notice that SRN Motorsports, that's the black team. That's with Scott McGarvey, Huff, and Jeffries and Gralty. They sneaked themselves onto the overlay, but really the orange team of SRN comfortably in the lead, with Stephen McGarvey doing most of the heavy lifting for that one. The SRN gray team, the sister team, with Gerard getting most of the points there. All right, those are your team's championships. All 4 of them, Joe?
Thank you for that, Bill. Well, we might have viewers who have just hopped on because we had a small break while we celebrated America's birthday. Just taking a couple weeks off in this series. So, Sam, we could have some new viewers that are wondering, well, what's involved in the Autobahn series? Why don't you run us down the race details?
Yes, Joe, thank you for segueing to the British person using the July 4th reference. But here we go. Here are the race details for today's date. And this is also a bit unique for people who regularly follow this series, because it is a 2-hour race as opposed to a 1-hour race. And so that's definitely going to change up the strategy. We have the classes here of the prototypes, the GTLMs and the GTDs. And there you see the cars that are in each class listed on the screen. Open setups for these drivers. They do have restricted fuel loads, which will, as we mentioned, create some strategy out there today. With it being a 2-hour race, I wouldn't be surprised to see tyres being an issue. You know, some drivers taking tyres, and maybe not some drivers not taking tyres, but, you know, maybe doing it later or earlier or less or more. And if you do run off track 48 times or spin around 24 times or crash into cars 12 times, you will accumulate 48 incident points and be kicked out of a race.
Thanks for that update, Sam. Now, as we watch qualifying work its way through, real quick, Bill, I want us to take a glance at the difference between our 2 pole sitters overall, Ulmer and Gerard. Now, moments ago, it was 9 1/1000ths different between them, and it has jumped up to a huge gap, 3 100ths between them over this incredibly long lap. This is looking like it's going to be a stunner.
It will indeed. I'm not sure if anyone's really going to be able to drive away with this being such a fast track. I think guys are going to be able to hang in there a little bit. Of course, Ulmer's problem has never been pace. It's getting to the end, and with this being a 2-hour race, it just makes it that much more difficult for him to get there. Nobody is going to shed a tear if Jason Girard is beat for the pole, and if people can get around him as well. Take a look at Jason right there.
Yeah, he's been incredibly fast lately. He's only missed a win once since round 2.
There is one driver I want to talk about here, though, Joe, and that's Joshua Wolf. Now, he usually doesn't race in this car, but he's really not in a championship hunt, so he decided to come on over, have a little fun, try out these prototypes. The reason I want to talk about him, he's 4th fastest right now.
Yeah, he's not been having the greatest season in the GTE cars, so I kind of don't blame him at this point. He knows he's out of it, and there's, well, not really a penalty. It's just you won't accumulate points for the GTE cars if you're over here racing the prototypes. So Josh is just here for fun at this point. Looking down, though, at the GTD, Sam, the thing that struck me as I was getting ready for this race and brushing up and figuring out what stories are going on, Kevin Santana, what a strange story. He's not winless, but man, it's been a while, and I'm kind of amazed that he's still leading the points.
Yeah, well, that's what consistency will do for you. He won the season opener at Daytona, hasn't won since then, and it was Lionel Duprat last round getting his first win of the season. As a matter of fact, with the exception of Brock winning back-to-back from Sebring through Road Atlanta and then to Watkins Glen, winning those 3 races in a row, we have had a different winner in GTD every single race this season. And so who knows who's going to pick it off today? Right now, Santana is leading qualifying in GTD, but that doesn't guarantee him the win because there are 2 cars within a second of him. So sometimes that might not sound very close, but when you're talking about an 8-mile circuit, that is fairly close.
Yeah, let me butt in for a quick mention on a correction. I don't think it was our director's fault. I don't think the graphics department updated the GTD standings there. It is Santana up in front. What's interesting is we had Dawson Brock, who was really dominating this early on. He's taken the summer off. He won't be racing much more, and so that allowed Alan Haseman to make it into the top 5. But yeah, Santana, he loves this championship show. He takes great pride in winning the AM champion.
Absolutely. We should mention that Brock is here today.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh.
But he's surprisingly low in the qualifying right now. Now, as you mentioned, he's not going to be able to show up a lot, and I know he has a lot of other obligations. So from what I understand, he probably was not able to practice as much as he would have liked. There you see him out running in the Mercedes. Hopefully, Bill's Freudian slip isn't something that we'll see a lot of, as Dawson shouldn't be blocking too much today. But the Grizzly Motorsports driver, usually fast. Maybe he'll climb up as the race goes on.
He's actually undefeated. He's raced 4 times and hasn't been beaten yet. So, yeah, that's or 3 times. He's 3 for 3 in the races he showed up at.
Exactly. Yeah. Bodes well for him. Now, I believe this is a warm-up lap for him because I saw him going slow out of the Porsche curves, and he's just starting another one here. So indeed, Jason Girard has now taken the pull back from Ulmer just recently, if I'm seeing correctly. It is now extended to 1/10 over John Ulmer, and Ulmer's seen that. He's just now getting out to try and get going. He's got enough time to start one more lap if he can just get to the end of the pit lane here soon.
For a 3.5 minute lap, that's so close. I mean, 1/10 is basically time.
Yeah, we should mention, Joe, this isn't LCQ qualifying going on right now. Normally, that's kind of how they divide it up here in this series. It has actually been a free-for-all 45-minute qualifying session, and they do that at lengthy tracks such as Le Mans and the Nürburgring, just to give all of the drivers 45 minutes on track. Because you need it to do clean laps around here, because you can see as we ride on board here how easy it is to make a mistake at this circuit. And if you make a mistake in qualifying on iRacing, your lap time doesn't count, and you've got to wait another 4 minutes until you get back around the start line to try again.
Exactly. Right now we're looking at 5th in the GTDs, and this kind of surprises me. Jason DeVries, who was our winner last week, or last round I should say, at the Nürburgring, doesn't seem to really have the one-lap pace currently. But part of the reason we saw him win last round, Bill, was, he played the strategy game well. He sniped that win on the last lap.
I never really worry when I see Deep Freeze not fast in qualifying. In my opinion, he's a better racer than he is a qualifier. And I especially, you give him 2 hours to get comfortable with what's going on out there. You get to the last 20 minutes of racing, he'll be ready to go.
You put it in the deep freezer, but it will still be really good when it comes out.
So we've gone from plain jokes to ice cream jokes this time, huh?
Well, I haven't said anything about a driver being called Wolf or a team being named Grizzly, already being both mentioned on the broadcast. So we're going to be in for a fun 2 hours here.
All right, what about Cy Andra? Now, he hasn't been a factor in a bit because, he hasn't shown up in a bit. So, yeah, let's see what he's got this time through. If he doesn't get a good lap on this one, he could yet come around for one more try. And it's a 32-1. That is going to jump him up onto the 3rd row for 6th place. That should be decent enough for Cy.
Still gone another time for a lap as we go over the Watch Dave Hill now.
Riding in the Ford GT. into the Porsche curves. He's down in 10th position. He had a great little battle with Matt Quinn last round towards the end of the race. The Ferrari and the Ford going wheel to wheel, battling almost essentially to the line. So let's see what the TMC Crimson driver can do. Compared to Syandra, who, by the way, part of the reason he was so far down is he had a bunch of laps discounted for off tracks. Dave Hill is currently on his 5th one, that if this counts, his 5th timed lap here in the qualifying. Granted, I should actually, looking at it now, one of those was a warm-up lap. So this will be his 4th, and no, it is not. So that is it for Dave Hill on this qualifying. Jumping over to 3rd in the prototypes, Billy Smith backing it up, trying to get himself a little bit of room, almost F1 style here. Get some clear track, and this is going to be it for him. Let's see what he's got on this lap as now we check in on Kevin Santana, our points leader and current provisional pole sitter.
And I think he just improved his time, Joe, because he only had 7/10 on Lionel Duprat. He has now gone up to almost a full second. As a matter of fact, 9/10 flat. So Kevin Santana protecting his pole position in GTD.
Checkered flag has come out. Mark Grodrowski is going to be the first to take that checkered flag, as he's a little sloppy coming through the Ford chicane. His best right now at a 3:58.2. He crosses the line. It's a 3:57.2. A whole second chopped off. That's good enough to crack the top 10.
We look at Mike Young. You know, we were talking about Lionel Duprat. He's beside himself, coming off a win last time out. First career win. Happy to get that one. Congratulations, Lionel.
Young does not improve. Alex Simonik, he is trying to take pole away. He's on the front row right now on the number 250. But Dennis Savretic, Bill mentioned it, one of the biggest threats to his championship right now, stealing points away, especially since he can't afford any drop leads. He's got to continue to get good results. It doesn't mean wins necessarily, and he's going to abandon the lap and duck on in. So what about Jason DeVries? Maybe he can get himself a little bit farther up, still sitting 5th in the order, Bill. Oh, no, he's not.
Get that one out of the way right here. Get that one out before we start the 2-hour racing career. Now, here's an important one, though. This is Syandra. This is the fly in the ointment with Gerard and Ulmer here. Don't be surprised if he doesn't put this one way up the list.
He comes past the pit entry into the Ford chicane, being aggressive with the curbs. Last 2 turns onto the throttle and towards the line. His fastest is a 32.1. Make that a 31.7. Another half second chopped off, but it's only good enough for P5.
Moves himself around Carter Kundinger up into 5th spot.
Caught out there. He just exited out of Arnage and is coming up towards the Porsche curves. He sits in 7th in that number 52 machine. Turcotte showed a lot of speed at the start of the season. Was vying for wins and podiums, but right now is lacking it a little bit here in the GTLM class. The Canadian driver through Maison Blanche now. And then the Ford chicane is all that stands between him and this last lap. His first timed lap was his fastest. He hasn't been able to improve since then. Does he have anything better underneath him? Out of the final corner, he stays within the boundaries, and across the line he does a 3:48.8, 1/10 faster. Isn't going to gain him a spot, so he stays 7th.
Okay, you talked about Turcotte and how he's kind of slowing down. Let me give you his results here. Oh my God.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Gerard just set the bar pretty darn high, 0.8 faster than John Ulmer with that last lap.
That's the biggest gap we've seen between our front row or in any of the classes right now. Now, Dawson Brock has only had 1 qualifying attempt so far, but I've been watching this lap. He's been keeping it clean. He's all the way down in 10th, as we mentioned, undefeated in the 3 races that he has been in, and that's not going to help him. He is not going to improve, and so Brock will start 10th.
In fact, that is the last of our qualifying. Nobody else is out on track. Even though they've got time to finish hot laps, there's nobody to finish them. So let's go through our starting grid for today. Jason Girard is on the pole, and he would have had it even without that last lap, but that was certainly an emotional blow. A psychological blow for John Ulmer, who starts next to him in second. Billy Smith will be P3 when the green drops, with Josh Wolf coming over from the GTLM class up to the prototypes and managing to put it in fourth. Here's hoping he has better luck there. Cy Andra will be starting in fifth. The outside of row 3 has Carter Kundinger. Then Kevin O'Keefe, who was potentially in for the win at Le Mans for the Majors race, even said himself he's a little bit outclassed in this series comparatively. He only starts 7th. Dean Moll next to him in 8th. Leif Peterson will be P9. The top 10 will be rounded out by Mark Wilson. Robert Cancian will start in 11th. Then you've got Sheldon Rosenbaum in P12. And the last of the prototypes is going to be David Sockrider in 13th. Bill?
We talked about Dennis Savretic not being in the points race, but he is sitting on the pole right now ahead of points leader Alex Simonek. Now, Scott McGarvey's not here, but his brother Steven is. He sits in third. He's going to be inside of Mike Young. In fifth is Jason DeVries with Ross Booth. Olivia Turcotte, I wanted to follow up on him. He had a fourth and a fifth to open the season with. Those were his best results. They've all been slower than that since. Daniel Gralty, Ryan Huff, Dave Hill, Paul Lindsay, and Chris Costa round out the class. Sam?
Yeah, you'll see 2 other GTOM names further down the order, but let's read out the GTDs. They're kicking off with Kevin Santana, who takes pole by almost a full second over Lionel Duprat. Paul Slavonic will be starting from 3rd place ahead of Tyler Gilmette. Mike Major will be starting from 5th alongside Shane Hunter, and Matt Owens is 7th in class ahead of Gerard Gilbert. Mark Kodraski and Dawson Brock will round out the top 10 in GTD. Dre Fields and Kurt Gross sit behind them ahead of Christopher Sherburn and Marty Jeffries. Art Peck will be back there, and a couple of GTOM drivers mixed in here as well, of Dino Topic and Joey Trungale. But also we have the GTD cars of Alan Hessebeck, Martin Roy and Tim McLeish not turning a time. 45 names in total, 40 of them turned a time in qualifying, so we'll see how many cars we get on the grid. One thing's for sure, we've got a large field, we've got 3 classes that have had close qualifying sessions, and we should be in for a great race.
For those worried, those GTLM cars will start with their class. They'll be gridded up at the back of that field and not the whole field. Before we get interrupted by the jet planes, Bill, let's go to you for your pick first.
Oh, it's I go with the prototypes. I like Cy Andra down in 5th. Give him time to get it figured out. And then we go down to the GTLMs. I go with 5th again with DeVries. Watch him work his magic from 5th spot. So that's where we're going to go with. His for DeVries is actually in 6th. Sammy, who do you like down there in your group?
Well, down in the GTDs, I've actually been thinking about this, Bill. I'm kind of excited about the Lion King coming out later this week, so I figured I'd give it to the person who has a lion-related name, and that, of course, will not be Lionel Duprat, but Shane Hunter. A lion is a hunter, so let's see if Shane can hunt his way up from 6th on the grid.
Of course. We wait for the Porsche pace car to take off. We, of course, are starting at just past, looks like 8:45 p.m. virtual standard time here in France. And with this being a 2-hour race, we will go into the night. Very appropriate for a race at Le Mans. Now that they've taken off behind the pace car, I do believe we'll be getting the jets relatively soon, probably about the time they come out of the Porsche curves. Always a beautiful sight to see here at the French track.
I like the formation that the jets fly in. You'll notice that the middle jet in the second row is saving fuel by drafting. I've always thought that was smart of that guy.
Thought you were going to make a reference to the Mighty Ducks or something, that it was the Flying V.
Sam is here. I just get to take it easy. I don't have to nearly work as hard because he'll be between you and Sam. I was going to say,
yeah. Well, and here I was already thinking of all sorts of plane jokes because I figured he'd bring that back since we got a long straightaway again. But now I got to come up with ice cream puns. But in the meantime, they've now entered through the Porsche curves past bridge into karting. Some of the most trickiest S's you'll find in racing. Even though they do have paved runoff, they have slowdown penalties that these drivers can get. And there go the Jets now, overhead. You can see them coming up in the distance. Certainly can hear them in our case as they get louder and louder. Streaming the tricolor in smoke behind them down the very famous front stretch here at Le Mans. Usually a tradition saved for the 24-hour race, but, well, iRacing spared no expense, I suppose.
That's right.
All right. They have now given control to Jason Gerard as he weaves through the Ford chicane and already got ahead of John Ulmer by the time they got the green flag. That allows him to jump ahead, but Josh Wolf gets ahead of Billy Smith. They plunge their way through the Dunlop curve into the Dunlop chicane. Pretty much everybody single file except for the back of the fields. Will they get through safe is the big question. I'm not seeing any spins. It looks like we're good, so let's go to the GTLMs.
Severick gets a great jump on Simonic, but the battle is for third position, and Mike Young is going to be able to get the best of that one as he moves now to the inside, and he makes McGarvey now moves up into third around Young. Sammy?
Lionel Duprat got too good of an exit out of a final turn as they came to the green. He had to back out of it, and that gave Kevin Santana a little bit of a jump. So Kevin Santana was unchallenged as they head into the first set of corners and pretty much single file through most of the field in GTD. They know it's a long race.
Wow, all three of our starts looked nice and clean. But we jump back to the prototypes because they come up to the first chicane on the Mulsanne, and the battle for third is incredibly hot here on the first lap. That's Billy Smith with a little bit of contact with Josh Wolf, not afraid to get his elbows out in this new car. Syandra takes advantage of that and uses the slipstream of Wolf to go by Billy Smith. But they're coming up to the Michelin chicane. Can he get 2 for 1? Andra ducks to the inside. Smith is going to follow him after getting a little bit of extra toe from Josh Wolf. Looks to get a little bit of revenge into the second chicane. He goes deep into the corner, and in fact, he gets his elbows right back out at him. Knocks him off course. That's probably going to be a slowdown penalty for Wolf. I don't see him slowing down, though. I think he would somehow manage to avoid it. Not over yet. Here comes Carter Kundinger, who's boxed in. It's a thin bit of racetrack here on the Mulsanne. He might have gotten into the back of Smith as they break for the Mulsanne corner. This has really brought a train of them together, both with the draft and the side-by-side racing, and separated them from the top drivers, Gerard and Ulmer.
Oh, and a slowdown penalty for Kevin Santana. He is off the pace as they head down to Indianapolis and hands the lead of GTD over to Lionel Duprat.
Not just the lead, but he's been passed by Guillemette and Slavonic. Santana's down to fourth, but I think he might have stopped the bleeding there. Usually these penalties are incredibly harsh on the first lap, and it looks like he's not done with it because now he gets passed by Shane Hunter. Sam's pick. We have a car in the background that was a little bit off track. That was Mark Kudrowski. He might also be serving a slowdown, though, judging by the way he's staying out of the way.
I don't think there's a single driver in GTD, Joe, that's going to finish lap one in the position they started. There's been a few slowdown penalties handed out, a few drivers having to give up positions, and it's shuffled up the order a little bit.
Let's see, they're coming up towards Indianapolis. Hunter loses out to Santana, who gets the spot back. That moves him up to P4 in the GTD class. Right on board with Hunter as they hit Arnage.
So Lionel Duprat leads GTD ahead of Slavonic, Guillemette, and then Santana's dropped back to fourth, and we ride on board Hunter here in fifth place, and even he's made a pass by Mike Major, who started in fifth position. So yeah, definitely an interesting first lap for these GTD guys. Normally you see calm first laps in this series.
Going to fifth, Carter Kundinger managed to get ahead of Billy Smith in all the action and put himself into fifth place. Smith trying to get that right back and is all over the rear wing of that prototype. Out of the Forest S's. Ooh, that looked much better for Billy Smith, but it's not that corner exit that matters. It's this one out of Tertre Rouge. He's going to get the slipstream. They come on to Mulsanne for the second time this race.
I think Paul Slavonic, racing in second in GTD, has lost the connection. I'll try and get back with you on that.
Once we hear from an update, Sam will go back to the GTDs, but right now this is the action we want to follow. Smith to the inside of Kundinger into the Forza chicane, and he's got it done. Kundinger could yet retake it if he wants to, but that brings us to a point that I think will be a big bit of talking points here in this race, Bill, and that is possibly fuel saving.
Well, talk about fuel saving. If you want to look at the leaders in the GTLM, Simonic has been behind Savretic this entire race, right behind him, saving the whole time. That's why I've been kind of quiet, because I've been waiting for Simonic to make a move. He's been a car length or two back, and as those two start to drive away, the closest battle for the lead of all the classes. But again, I'm not so much sure how sure Simonic really is interested in making a move. This is the farthest he's been back so far.
And we've had another slowdown penalty. Cy Andra lost multiple positions on the Mulsanne and is now fallen back to 7th place behind the likes of Mole and Kundinger.
Hey guys, give you an update on Paul Slavonic. He actually turned too far to the right in the Porsche curves, got on the grass, and he did crash in the wall. A very weird place for an accident. And was I hearing correctly from our director that that was a software-induced or a hardware failure? I'm not getting word on that. I don't want to confirm that.
All right, let's try to see if we can get confirmation later. On board with our leader in the GTLMs, that's Dennis Savretic being chased by Simonic. And they pulled a gap on McGarvey behind them. Steven just kind of cruising around and towing along Mike Young there in 3rd and 4th place, but certainly losing touch with our first two.
Those guys are comfortable. If they can make it into a two-car race, I guess that's what they're going to think about doing. Yeah, you talked about fuel. We're thinking it's a 3-stop race for everybody. Maybe Sam's class might be able to stretch it for a 2, but we'll find out soon enough. In about 45 minutes.
I mean, even if you can't save a stop, if you can save fuel, that can help you in the pit stops and could get you position in the end off of our Naj. Simonic just continuing to stay glued to the rear bumper of that car ahead. And Carter Kundinger is our next victim of slowdown penalties. This has turned into a huge issue today.
We'll get a replay of that, Joe. Now, I've got to wonder, I believe a lot of these slowdown penalties come with 1Xs as well. You can only do this so much.
Not all of them do. I know the ones on pavement are not given 1Xs. This one right here, I don't believe should give an incident point. Yeah, on the exit of karting. You just went a little too wide, and the sim makes you give time back because you've abused the track boundaries too much. You can see how much it cost him, because he's fallen all the way to 9th when he was battling in the top 5. For those worried about Ulmer and Gerard basically being all by themselves and not being able to battle each other, well, Ulmer's not only stayed with Gerard, he's passed him. And they're still pretty close together, as we're only on lap 3.
And if you've ever watched a race at Le Mans, a sports car race at Le Mans in real life, you'll know that even if it was a half-minute lead, the race is definitely not over.
Certainly, especially with the way things have been so topsy-turvy here in the first part. Gerard is definitely one of our drivers that in the past has utilized a thinking man strategy to try and win races. And I wonder if that's exactly what he's doing here, because he also is simply hovering behind the big cheese.
Yeah, well, Gerard made that, Ulmer made that pass going into Michelin chicane right before he got there. So this is on the straightaway. There's such a big toe from these guys.
Into the Mulsanne corner, no pass attempt there. Sam?
Yeah, good place to have a nickname, the big trees, if French like that stuff.
What about this battle for second in GTLM? McGarvey, wasn't he? No, actually, what happened to Simonic?
I'm looking at it right now. Simonic is, I'm looking, he must have made a mistake. Oh,
So
he
not
picked
only-
up it was not a mistake. It was a slowdown penalty.
Well, I would
it
count
up.
that as a mistake, though.
Yeah,
And you may have just seen... And you may have seen on the scoring pylon in GTD, there's been a change for the lead. Kevin Santana got Lionel Duprat, a simple draft pass down the Mulsanne straight. We'll stick with this battle.
Yeah, sorry, I guess I was wrong. Not on screen to what Sam was updating us. On screen was the battle for second. Mike Young overtook McGarvey. They've also got DeVries in the background. That's who you see in the number 1 machine, giving chase, hoping to get onto the podium.
Just to follow up on Simonic, don't need to go there, but he picked it up in the Ford chicane. And so he ended up, he was used to behind Cervetic, he ends up dropping way down now behind McGarvey, 5th in class. Plenty of time.
You can't do that too much. He's got to watch out in the end. See our battle for second, plunging into Indianapolis, but Mike Young McGarvey not trying anything on Mike Young quite yet. Very good under braking. DeVries closes in through Arnage. Oh, we've had a problem with Kevin O'Keefe. O'Keefe through the Ford chicane has unfortunately cost himself gobs of time as he has to wait for everybody to go by. I think we've got the replay.
Yeah, he caught the curbing on the left side, and the car just comes around.
Let's watch from on board real quick, see what it looks like from his perspective. It's got to be hard exactly to tell where the limits are. You're so low in these things.
What was really painful, stick with us a minute, Director, he had to sit and wait for all the cars to go by. Give him credit for not bringing the car out there. He must be fuming, but he waited for everybody to go by before he came out. That's what they teach you in the Ivy League.
It puts him down dead last in his class, unfortunately, with about 7 seconds to make up on the next car, which is Robert Canchin.
Speaking of Canchin, I have a feeling Kevin Santana is tailing the rest of the GTT cars. Catch him if you can, because he lost the lead in GTD early with a slowdown penalty, but he has quickly gotten back up front. Lionel Duprat kind of let him by, didn't put up much of a fight. I wonder if Duprat's regretting that now. It seems Kevin Santana, whatever he was struggling with at the start, maybe cold tires, he's got that behind him and he's just pulling away.
Man, you're not kidding. It's over a second between himself and Duprat now. They've worked their way through the Dunlop curve into the Dunlop chicane. And if you aren't sick of that word yet, they could then go under the Dunlop Bridge, work their way into the Chapel Rundown. Santana, as we mentioned at the start of the broadcast, has been lacking a win since the very first round at Daytona. Another circuit that has a long period on the throttle. So maybe it's just these tracks where he likes these long straights where he can trim the car out that he fares well at, and it's already up to 2 seconds now just in that one section of the circuit.
Well, and some of these drivers in GTD, Joe, will be hoping that the prototype cars Dunlop them soon. Don't lap them soon, I'm sorry, that was a stretch. But unfortunately for them, that's going to happen. We are going to have lap traffic to deal with here, of course, it being a 2-hour race. The good news is this track, it's got so many long straights that it shouldn't pose too much of an issue.
You don't have to apologize, Sam. I never get tired of your puns. We hop on board with Gerard.
I got that.
Yes, I figured you would. The 02 chasing the 902 for the lead and has closed it in since we last looked. At points, it's been as low as 0.3 of a second. It's gone back up a little bit through the S's, through the Porsche curves, up to 0.5 of a second.
You can have the lead if you want to. There's plenty of opportunity on the long straights before either one of the chicanes back there. You know, the guy that's probably, sometimes you make a decision and you say, my God, what have I done? That was a bad idea. That's not the case for Joshua Wolf. Decides to race in the prototype, sitting in third right now. Yeah, he's He's 7.5 seconds back from the two guys that are running away, but nevertheless, pretty good. Billy Smith starting to come, though. Now just a second back.
Before we run on board here, Josh Wolf coming out of the Ford chicane certainly is pushing because the rear end was swinging all around. He's got a loose car underneath him. You could see it here as well. Well, even though he's proven fast, maybe he hasn't had time to set up the car quite to his liking. Let's watch from Smith's perspective. This should really give us a good idea of just how much Josh Wolf is bringing it out of this machine.
But again, so much of this is something I've learned from talking to Ulmer. There's so much of based on setup. Ulmer always runs a low downforce car. He wants that straight line speed, and I think that ends up, coming back to haunt with mistakes. So you never know what these guys are actually doing here. Chasing Wolf down the straight.
Well, I have a feeling you almost have to have a low downforce setup here, so maybe that could actually benefit Ulmer on the base that he's more used to it.
Let's jump a little bit back behind these two.
Yep.
Ty Andra and Dean Mole. And the reason I say that is because I'm pretty sure Andra is a little bit more eager to pass than Jason Girard.
Here he comes, and he's going to duck out, and he's going to get that done.
Yep. Andra, one of our many drivers who are trying to clamber their way back forward after some slowdown penalties and mistakes cost them position.
And no offense to Dean Mole on this one, but if you're Billy Smith and you look in your rearview mirror and you see that you got Cy Andra behind you or Dean Mole, but Andra seems to come with a bold-faced font, at least on my F2
Yeah, I would say the same. Had another pass here in the prototypes. Kevin O'Keefe finally gets one car. Cut those 7 seconds down to Robert Canchin and overtook him on the Mulsanne. Interesting note that was told to me, actually, Bill, when the Lotus 49 drivers came here. I had Stefan Schlacker with me, and he informed me that the road named Mulsanne is actually apparently the one after Mulsanne Corner, not the one leading to it. So it's something of a misnomer, but I mean, I don't think you're going to get many people to stop calling that straight the Mulsanne.
Well, so what you're saying is if you miss your braking point, then you're actually on Mulsanne, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm not allowed to.
The run to Indianapolis, rather.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to call it Eau Rouge, right? It's not Eau Rouge.
Yeah.
Great,
different French name. We've had a pass here in the GTDs. This is for 7th place.
It looks like it might have actually been kicked off by a mistake from Owens, but the only reason he had the position, to be honest, was a mistake from Friels not too long ago. I think Friels had to serve a slowdown. They've really been mixing it up in the midfield as we get another look at Owens' mistake. And what a save, actually. And the driver who's really capitalized and came out on top of this midfield battle in GTD is Dawson Brock. Now, given all the hype we were making about Dawson Brock at the top of the show, you might be disappointed to learn that he's only made up to 6th place in class so far. However, he actually had a mistake or slowdown or something along those lines at the start. He dropped back on the opening lap, and so he's not only picked up 4 positions from where he started, but a couple extra on that as well. Watching the replay here, something else.
Well, now we're back live. Let's go to 2nd in the GTLMs, because, Bill, you've noticed the same thing I have, which is that McGarvey is still behind Young and not dropping off.
Yeah, but he's working a little harder than what I saw before. I think he really wants it. It'd be interesting to see. It's such a long time around till they get to where the passing zone is, but he's right there right now. What's interesting is once Alex Simonik picked up that slowdown penalty, he's been able to pick up no ground on DeVries as he sits laboring back there still at 5th in class.
They seem pretty stuck in these 4th and 5th positions, not able to make any grounds on those ahead of him. I would have thought that DeVries would be right up behind McGarvey by this point, and we've had a change for the overall lead. Girard decided it was time to go, and he's overtaken Ulmer. believe this was into the Michelin chicane.
In the Michelin chicane. Give Ulmer credit. He took his half out of the middle, and then he moved over, and then he got it.
Got it done under braking, though, interestingly. Even though he got the run on the way up towards it. So Jason Gerard back up to the front. He started this race on pole, so this should be pretty familiar territory. They have really dropped Josh Wolf. He is 9 seconds back in third place and dealing with Billy Smith on top of it.
That pass me. Oh, there it is.
Sorry, the lead's changing hands for the second time this lap. Ulmer doesn't want to sit behind.
See, now I was going to think that was Ulmer saying, come on, Jason, it's your turn to do a little work here. You're saving all the fuel back there, but I guess not.
And am I not mistaken in saying that Ulmer was one of the drivers that that failed to play the fuel game when we had the 2.4 hours for the majors? Yeah. Which doesn't bode well for this red car. Because if he didn't learn his lesson that time, it is a different race length this time, granted. Galti have changed positions, and that came from a mistake from Daniel. Coming out of the Forza chicane, he overshot the corner, lost the spot to Ryan Huff, and Turcotte thought about it. He's going to brake early on the way into the Michelin chicane. We're not willing to try and take that one in too wide this early in this 2-hour race.
We're seeing a lot of mistakes, Joe, and I have to start wondering if weather's playing a factor, and it could very well be. The track is very cool. I don't think I've ever seen a track temperature that cool on iRacing.
67 degrees is side by side. Huff and Galti go into the Mulsanne corner, and Daniel Galti is going to get the spot back after he loses it just for a couple corners.
I don't think Ryan Huff's worries are over, though. Turcotte is really anxious to get that spot as well. Good racing going on back there for that sixth class.
Meanwhile, McGarvey still on the back of Young, but still stuck at this 0.2 of a second gap behind that orange and white Porsche.
We go through Arnage now. Again, I don't want to make too much into this. It's so early. I just think Steven is back there. They're only 2.5 seconds behind Sevredek. And when you take Sevredek, I don't know how much. I think McGarvey is thinking big picture. Sevredek's not in the championship race. He's racing Young right now for the win for the championship.
I was thinking almost kind of the opposite. Maybe McGarvey is thinking, I don't want to try and get into a side-by-side battle so that we don't lose a lot of time on Sevredek, because they, like you said, they aren't falling away from him. If he's content to just kind of cruise here, he knows that they can keep this pace going.
Yep. But they can't wait too long, because they talked about it before. Simonic is beginning to reel him in now. He's coming.
Let's go to the prototype leaders. There's coming across traffic for the first time of the GTD class. We go by Jeffries, and then Art Peck is going to be in front of them. Looks like they're going to be able to get past Peck pretty easily before Indianapolis. That's the crucial point that they wanted, is to not be held up in the twisty bits.
Yeah, and it's also good. It's a win-win situation for the cars passing and the cars being passed. Neither of them lose time.
Ooh, did we lose Cy Andra? And we understand that Cy Andra might be struggling with his internet, so not necessarily something on track that happened. We jump back to Gerard and Ulmer. Up next is Alan Hayspect, but they are going to catch him in the Porsche curves. He's going to try and stay to the right. Both of them swinging around the outside.
Oh, Kurt Gross had just crashed ahead of them. Kurt had been running in the top 10 in GTD, and it looks he's in the pits now, missing a hood.
Wait, the car bounced right out on the track.
Yeah, thankfully cleared it before they got there. Let's see, where is this exactly? This is out of karting. Ooh, and he just missed the tire, so it was straight into concrete. Hence why Kurt Gross wound up taking a tow. That must have been just severe damage on the nose of that Porsche.
No cautions or safety car periods in this series, so even if he is able to get back out, it'll be laps down.
All right, McGarvey's a lot closer to Young this time.
Yeah,
This will be more telling. Yeah, this
that's
looks
a
like
lefty.
up to Indianapolis. Boy, look at how close he... Wow! That is right up there. That, to me, is a definite sign he's fuel saving. He's trying to use that draft as much as possible.
Yeah, speaking of which, another couple out here on track that our director picked up on a little while ago is Matt Owens and Jay Friels. I don't know if they're battling down the Mulsanne Straight or if they're actually just trading their position back and forth to try and leapfrog each other and catch the cars in front. But they are side by side so often, it can't be good for them to be racing like that, but maybe both of them just want to be in front. Well, they might want to get it sorted now because they have the race leaders coming up right behind them. And it must be said that the race leaders are quite close. Gerard has a good little run on Olmo. He's flashing his headlights, telling these GTD cars, hey, I want to get by, but he's going to get bulked behind Owens. This could help Gerard a little bit.
Certainly didn't help Friels, who lost a lot of time. Oh, and there's a car off track. That is Tyler Gilmette.
He was in third in GTD. Wow, the GTDs are starting to drop like flies a little bit.
He's got a big problem. Let's see if this happened in Mulsanne Corner, so it might be quite a bit ago. Let's see if we can pull it up.
Driver error.
Yeah, right here. You're going to see the rear of the car start to come around, and that Audi unfortunately does make contact, hard contact with the inside wall. He unfortunately took a tow after that. You could see he was struggling to run off the track to stay out of the way and decided that he was too much of a danger and came on in.
We got a battle between Wolf and Billy Smith here, Joe, but I'm keeping half an eye on the clock. We're coming up to the 30-minute mark. I wonder if pit window will open soon.
Yeah, Billy Smith has been following Wolf for ever long here as Wolf comes up behind the slower car of Gilbert. He gets around him.
I thought maybe that was going to give Smith a chance to try and sneak through.
And John Ulmer is pitting. Our race leader is pitting. Now I hope this is planned and he's short pitting and he hasn't been burning all his fuel out leading this race, because he is not at the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, he's a little early, but it's, I mean, if he goes one more, it'll be well past the 30-minute mark.
Wolf is in.
So maybe you're right. Maybe this is the cars that haven't been fuel saving.
Yeah,
the cars that have been leading, yeah.
Rosenbaum coming in. If I'm a prototype driver, I want to try and find a way to save a lap of fuel during one of these runs.
Looks like they're certainly going to have to.
Art Peck brings his GTD car in as well, but the GTDs can get so much further on fuel. That's got to be a short pitting strategy.
There's another talking point, though, Bill, is because they don't usually do races this long, tires are a question mark, and they can't do them at the same time as fuel. Ulmer, we're hearing, did not take them.
Boy.
The track is so cold, I almost wonder if you want to keep your old tyres on so you're not putting very slippery tyres out there when you go out.
It's true. And they shouldn't need them after a half an hour of racing. Usually they're made to go for at least an hour-long stint.
Let's go to 16th overall. We're going to look at Jason DeVries because he's been coming, and here's Alex Simonik. Now, this is first on Simonik's hit list. Will be DeVries before he gets up to McGarvey and Young. May take him a while because I don't think Jason really wants to do this thing. No, that's kind of putting on my Captain Obvious cap here, but...
He's going way wide to the outside as a defensive move from Jason DeVries fends off into the Porsche curves. Now back, and he cuts him off at the nose.
Point made.
I'd say so. Oh, Gralty's had problems, and so has Ryan Huff. This is into the Porsche curves. And while the two GT-LM cars managed to get through there without contact, these two GTD cars did not. Oh no, excuse me, these are GT-LM.
And the Porsche curves has really been the trouble zone today.
If we get it, it might be fun to look at it from Tricot's point of view as, well, he was able to clear. And I guess it's okay. He had an easy run of it. But those two cars get together, Huff and Gralty both. I'm not sure if they made any contact with anything. Gralty got into the tires too once he spun off.
Gralty's bumper, this should tell us whether or not he actually touched the safety barrier there on the outside. The contact there.
And bounce.
Yep. So as we come back live, that puts Gralty down in 10th and Huff in 9th position.
All right, Gerard is in.
You owe me a Coke. Long ways back to the next of the prototypes. That's Billy Smith. Pretty sure he's going to be coming in. Yes, indeed.
And while we were watching all that action, Simonik was able to get around DeVries.
And right behind Billy Smith on track there was Dawson Brock, who has run Shane Hunter down, and Hunter's just pulling to the side, letting Brock go by. So I think when the pits all cycle through, Dawson Brock will be running in about top 5 in class.
Director, what I'd like to do if we could pick up Ulmer. He's just going into the Ford chicane right now. This will be for the lead here.
Gerard still stationary while our cameras watch Ulmer. I'm watching Gerard. Ulmer was stationary for, well, I'm seeing 0.1 second, but I know that's not right, so I'll have to fire my timing and scoring. And Ulmer is going to go by.
By quite a distance.
A distance, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough to completely cut Gerard off from the track.
I agree.
It's only about 1 second. I think he's still pretty safe here.
I'd also still be concerned for Ulmer about the lap he pitted on, because the other thing is, with him leading, I'm sure he's happy to be leading, but he ain't going to save fuel up there.
Right. I agree. I think the important is not so much the distance he's ahead of Gerard, it's how far can he go on this stint, which will be harder, right? And Sam, if I think about this, is even harder this time, right? Because he's got to go the same distance he went last time, plus a little more. He's got to get to the 1 hour mark.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
yeah.
Roll contact between Mark Wilson, turned by Billy Smith. Billy Smith had been flashing his headlights at him, saying, I want by, and Mike Wilson wasn't letting him by.
Well, this is an awful case of netcode here. This is a horrendous case.
Oof.
Well, maybe Wilson just lost it. Let's take another look at it.
This is from onboard Wilson. No, yeah, that looks like the car was tipped.
I think Billy Smith would appreciate one more look so he can get cleared of this one.
If I remember from a Vsauce video, you can't actually touch anything, so any crash, the car's never actually touched.
Inconclusive evidence, right, Director? It was netcode we're getting it. Okay.
Yeah. From what I saw, I'm pretty sure. Those last set of pit stops meant that all of our prototypes have stopped and kicks off the pit stops for our GTLMs. Savretic has come in, Young has come in, McGarvey has come in, so it's Simonic, but Jason DeVries has stayed out.
Well, the fact that these GTLM cars have been able to make it this deep tells me that the GTLM cars we saw pitting earlier were probably doing that as a strategy call.
We only had Turcotte pit earlier, though, did we not? I'm not seeing anybody else that had come in. But fascinating that DeVries is the one that kept going, because it was McGarvey that we were watching riding just behind Young, and he's going to have to continue doing that as they exit the pits, with Young still ahead of him.
And Santana coming in from the GTD lead.
Pratt's going to follow him.
Yeah, and I was starting to wonder about that. I'm always thinking, if you're a GTD car that could save fuel for another 5 minutes or so, 2 laps, granted that's a hard ask around how long this track is, you can make it to the 40-minute mark and then only have to pit twice.
Oh, we had a problem with Sheldon Rosenbaum. He's not going to show up in time and scoring in quite the right position because he had a big wreck out of Indianapolis. See exactly what happened. He was following his teammate up to this really quick entry to the corner. Then suddenly ducked out even.
And as we watch this replay and what happens here, Joe. Oh. Single car error. I'll tell you that Santana had a non-stop. In fact, he has lost multiple positions in the pits and GTT class, but we'll get one more look at this Rosenbaum incident.
This, to me, looks like Santana maybe took tires while others did not. I'm thinking...
Back out there now.
Yeah, everybody, a lot of other people, I should say, not everybody, were about 30 seconds, whereas Santana was 54.
We'll follow this story in a moment. Bill!
Yeah, I think we're going to have a pass for the lead here up in GTLMs with Simonic is right now behind Savretic. So you may be wondering, how did Simonic get there? What's going on? Well, here's what happened. Savretic, Young, and Garvey all took their stops. They were about 22 to 23 seconds. Simonic stopped 16 seconds. That's how he was able to jump them all and get up right behind the guy he's been chasing for most of the race.
This could be a difference in fuel strategy, though, because if they can go a little bit longer, obviously you can pick one of them to be your short stint.
Okay.
Maybe that's what he's doing now to get himself up to the front to fight with Savretic. Now, this is for the effective lead, we should say, because DeVries is still our leader. But we're waiting for him to come in, which should be any moment, because he's coming up to the pit entry now, and he's in.
And we'll watch this, but trying to work out what was going on with Kevin Santana in the GTD pit stop, something else we missed. Dawson Brock has worked his way up to second in class after starting 10th.
Wow. Now, how did he... That also must be a little bit of pit strategy, because how did he leapfrog so many people that quickly?
Yeah, you're right. He could have, short filled it. These cars are on a 3-stop strategy, but they've got some time and fuel to play with. So it will mean that his next 2 stops will have to be a bit longer.
We watch the the second and third place driver, Savretic and Simonic, in the GTLM class. But Bill, it's essentially been a 2-horse race in the prototypes based on the gap, but a very close one at least.
Yeah, but 1 horse maybe thirstier than the other one. And John Ulmer has surrendered the lead now as we watch these guys come up behind Ross Booth. And John, be careful here. Ulmer chasing Gerard through. Remember, we think that Ulmer might be worried about fuel. Now that's Paul Lindsay that they're coming up behind.
We hope that he's thinking about fuel at the least based on what we saw. If it's not an issue and we're just being Chicken Little, then that's excellent. Glad that he'll be able to make it, but again, not sure if he's even really planning this out enough. He manages to follow through, getting past Paul Lindsay in the traffic, but yet more of it up ahead of him.
So DeVries made his stop, and he comes out well behind all these guys. He had another 24-second stop. That's about what everyone else is doing. But now he's well behind Young and McGarvey back in 5th.
I wonder if that's a tires thing. About 5 seconds difference between himself and McGarvey. And you're right, everything else looks pretty much the same on pit lane between them.
And they're all relatively close, the top 5. The only one that's fishy is the pit stop that Sevredic took. And let me qualify that. Simonic. Sevredic is fine. Simonic continues to chase Dennis.
Is he chasing or is he just riding behind him? Because this is looking a lot like what we saw with McGarvey, where he gets right up underneath there and then doesn't attempt to make a pass.
And if you short filled or if you're doing something fishy, save a little fuel, maybe that's where you want to be. It's starting to get dark. I'm going to have to put a sweater on.
Yeah, thankfully we shouldn't see it get too much cooler here on iRacing. They work their way towards Indianapolis, and you can see the lift behind them. There's another pair of cars. That is for 3rd and 4th. Young leads McGarvey. We've been seeing those two close together for a long, pretty much almost the entire race.
Yeah, Joe Peak, I think you are on top of it there. I think that Simonic has no plans to go around Sevredic, and this will be a 4-car battle pretty soon.
Ulmer and Gerard swap positions. John Ulmer once more showing that fuel strategy isn't necessarily what he's working on for the moment. Gets himself out into the clean air, but also out to where he has to do most of the work, pushing all that air out of the way.
Look at that number, viewers, up in that top left corner there. You're looking at the 1:17:33. That's hours and minutes that are left. Ulmer's got to get to the 1 hour mark or close to it for him to do it on one more stop.
I think he's got to go over it, because there's going to be added time at the end of a race.
You're right.
You know, I was taking a second to think about Santana's pit strategy. Did we confirm that Santana took tires this time?
I haven't confirmed that, but I'm actually watching the lead GTD cars this lap because I'm curious to see what kind of lap times they run, how much those cars are faster. Now, of course, it's not going to be a very accurate reading because he's been faster than the rest of his competitors anyway. But we've got a good little battle on screen here.
Yeah, sort of a battle. This is Simonic just staying with Sevredic. Don't need to go to it, but Gerard and Ulmer swapped positions again. Gerard now leading. The reason I asked...
That is correct on Santana. He did do that.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, Sam. If you don't take tires until the halfway point, because they're probably going to want them at least once. When Wolf is in, why is Wolf in right now?
Well, because he crashed the car. Yeah.
How long ago was this? Because I'm not finding it on my screen. We're seeing if we could find a replay of it. It's out of karting. And I see a little bit of damage on the wing. I think he must have already had the incident here. Yeah, because there he goes into the pits. Back to the point on Santana. If you don't take tires the first time, you probably will want to take them the second time. But then you find yourself taking 2 tires in a row potentially, if you want fresh tires in the final stop, or just being on old tires the last stint. I'm wondering if Santana is thinking take them in the first and the third one, give myself the freshest tires at the very end without really taking tires twice in a row. I don't know.
Look at Santana's lap time, 3:53. That's 2 seconds faster than our race leader, Lionel Duprat, at a 2:55, at least in that class. And he was being held up by Shane Hunter at the end of that lap. So there's obviously seemingly a significant advantage to have in those fresher tyres. But yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't have just done it at the halfway point. Because now if you want to be on equal ground with the rest of your competitors, you want to change tyres once during a race. All of the other drivers are going to do it at the 60-minute mark. He's already done it. So are these tyres going to have to last 90 minutes, or is he going to pit more than once? And this is... Okay, now he goes for Shane Hunter. I was very surprised he hadn't pulled out before then. So now Santana goes by, and at the rate he's going, it shouldn't be too many laps before he runs Brock and Duprat down. Maybe he wants to take tyres a second time and use this significant advantage on pace that he has, for whatever reason, to just win this race on pace, even taking more tyres.
Can we quickly go to Simonic real quick? Alex Simonic he's about the 2 leaders and the prototypes are going by, and this got really hectic here.
Oh, and Simonic just got tipped.
I could feel it coming.
Wide. That's going to give the lead back to Savretic. He only had it for a moment, and he spins! And he spins in front of another car that gets hit!
McGarvey.
That was...
Stephen McGarvey.
Oh. 2 of our championship contenders coming together. Now, was it the lap traffic that allowed Simonic into the lead, or did he just slipstream by earlier when we weren't looking? Coming through the Porsche curves. There's Gerard and Ulmer, are the 2 prototypes going by, and I don't think they actually made contact. He just got surprised that there was a car to the inside, had to go wide, went through the grass through Maison Blanche, and unfortunately was just at the wrong place at the wrong time for McGarvey. McGarvey saw. And I understand why he tried to go to the right side, because it looked like that car was absolutely going to go to the left, and then suddenly he was trying to save it. And Simonic's efforts to save it made it unpredictable, and they hit each other. Now, McGarvey's not losing too much time on Simonic, though, despite missing a big chunk of the front of the car.
Yeah, it looked like he was thinking about coming into the pits, but then chose against it. And honestly, if he stays out there just a couple more laps, he might be in the fuel window. So maybe that's what he's waiting for. Even if he does have any aerodynamic damage, he can simply use a slipstream of a car in front here to compensate for that. He might be all right here.
The big winner out of that, I'm sorry, Joe, to interrupt, we move up just a couple spots, is Mike Young is now in second.
Exactly.
And
that's what I was just about to go to, was fans of Savretic might be thinking, oh good, he'll have the track to himself. Not so. Mike Young has managed to close it in with all that action to within 0.3 of a second, and has now switched it from giving the tail to Simonic to being the chaser here on Savretic, just lifting at the end of the straightaways.
Jason DeVries back in fifth saying that's why I did things the way I did. I wanted to get out of the mess. He's just having a fun time back there.
DeVries still running in 5th position, about 2.5 seconds back from McGarvey. He's depending on how much that damage is hurting his pace, I think that De Vries could yet run these two down, who are... oh, and is this a battle for the lead? Yes, it is. A change for the lead, and the GTLM's Mike Young slingshots past Dennis Servretic. Getting close to that halfway mark. And, you know, maybe, I wonder if that's why McGarvey decided not to pit. He thought that his window would be opening soon enough. If he goes around one more time, he doesn't have to make the extra stop.
Yep, I believe that's the point maybe Sam was making there, that it's close to that window.
Yeah, my accent probably covered that point, but yeah.
Just to follow up on Young, he has a win already this season. He picked one up at Road America, if my memory is right. Good on him.
With McGarvey looking ahead at Simonic. What do these two do? This is where the incident happened last time around. Maison Blanche much safer this time for the two of them. Heading towards the pit entry at the Ford chicane. Neither go in though.
Yeah, the biggest disadvantage to Stephen McGarvey is he can't tell GTD cars he wants to pass him.
Actually, will he not have headlights on the car? Do we have the headlights on currently? Oh, I wish we could see exactly what he's seeing on his computer right now, because I'm not sure, does iRacing actually not let you see if you lose your headlights? Granted, he should have a pit stop before the sun fully goes down and gets completely dark. And I believe they should be able to replace that part of the car.
I think I once loaded a test session in the Formula One car Spa.
We lost Simonic.
Yes, we have.
Where did Simonic?
Client has manually disconnected.
He must have had an accident then. Gonna try and see. Not seeing anything in particular here. Just blips out.
What happens before he blips out? Does he get a 1x there? Does he potentially hit the 24x? Or 48x rather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
48 though in an hour is he was abusing the limits quite a bit there, so. Meanwhile, we head over to the battle for 6 in the prototypes. This is Leif Peterson leading Mark Wilson. Currently on the backstretch of the course.
Have one car, second round the stop-start, and Robert can see him, but he messed up pit entry and almost slid back out onto the racetrack.
Now, I can tell you from experience, you can get a black flag for that, for an unsafe pit entry. So I suspect this will be a very long stop for the 199.
Alright, so the prototype stops have started, and ideally though, you don't want to pit of your prototype for another 2 or 3 laps.
It's better than the prototype starts stopping, as we see Kanchan into his stall. Everybody else in the prototype still out there. Only Wolf and Kanchan have taken 2 stops. Wolf's unscheduled. We're still not sure what for.
Ulmer gets to go around one more time with 1:06. So that's, I didn't think he would have to come in this time. It'll be the next time around that'll tell us a lot.
Ooh, De Vries has caught McGarvey. I predicted earlier that his pace could have been hurt, and I think this is the confirmation, as Deep Freeze is now looking to get himself onto the podium now that we've lost
Alex
Simonic.
And just to give a quick update on GTD, Kevin Santana has not been running down Dawson Brock as much as what it looked like he would at the start of a run. I'm wondering how worth it tyres really are.
McGarvey stays out for yet another lap.
He does.
Well, he doesn't seem to be too disappointed with his race pace then, even though he's being caught by one of our previous champions.
Yeah, but without those lights, he might run into a deer or something. Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, he can't go for too terribly long, so I think, honestly, even if he does go as long as he can, he should still have to pit and won't have the sun be completely down past the horizon. So there's still some ambient light. You can even see here, drivers have decent visibility.
Battle for 6th in GTDs. Jay Fields has pulled away from Matt Owens. We saw that battle going on earlier. He just went straight by Christopher Sherburn. So working his way up to 6th in class.
There goes Deep Freeze for 3rd place on screen. Makes it look easy down the straightaway.
Yeah, similar pass to what Fields did to Sherburn.
Friels and Sherburn on screen as they come up to the Indianapolis kink. Friels, the green Mercedes that you see, Sherburn in the blue and white Audi.
Always love brightly coloured cars. Easy to identify from far off.
Very true. Oh, Lee Peterson had a problem. And he's found the wall. This happened in the Michelin chicane on his own. I believe it was simply driver error. The number 39 car gets it going. He's in 7th position. He's on his way once again. Let's see. We found the replay for it. No one really on the attack, just down into the corner, oversteers into it, and light contact with the tires. So we come back live, watching Leaf continue.
Gerard. So Gerard stays out. Ulmer's coming
in.
Yeah, I was watching the same thing, Sam. Wondering whether or not he would come in.
If he could go farther, he would have gone farther, I gotta think.
So what about those behind him as well? Because it did seem a little bit marginal before. Kundinger's not going to go in. He's actually in a nice little battle. You can see that orange and white machine second in line. That is Mole in the 79.
Now, what can you do to save fuel in these cars other than draft?
There should be a little knob in there, actually. Allows you to turn the engine down, but that does hurt your speed. Wilson is in. I think the only other car that looks like they are pitting this lap. Unless Peterson's spin meant that he has to come get repairs. And Peterson is actually going to pit, so either he can't make it or he did get enough damage that he feels it's worth it to come a little early. So as we ride on board with Peterson. Sock rider. Oh, look, there you can see the big damage on the right front fender of that prototype.
So, but Sam, this is where we're getting to the point now where Kevin Santana, right? He's the driver that we decided took tires, right? Or am I yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
He
So
took
we're
tires.
thinking he's not going to take tires this time. Everybody else is.
That's what we expect.
Yeah, if everyone else does, I mean, 2 tires is normally a lot to no tires is normally a lot to ask for a 2-hour race.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of long straights around here, so I don't think it's the most abusive track on tires. And the track temperature is so cool. Does anyone risk finishing the race on the same tires they started?
Had another spin out on track. Dave Hill and the GTL LeMans coming into the Dunlop chicane had a very, very fast slide across the dirt and gravel and eventually came back to the pavement. Let's see if we can pull up the replay. Looks like we're just at the end of it. Had to wait a long time for cars to clear for them to get back out on the track. Looks like we were just breaking up. Oh, the curb maybe. He's climbing on top of it when the car looked unsettled and then whipped the other way around. You can see he's got the car going once more. An hour left to go. We're past the halfway point in this race. Any of the prototypes who stayed out have made themselves that much more safer to get to the end. One of those includes third place driver Dean Mole. Big shout out to him for giving us a little hello on social media earlier this morning.
Gerard, am I looking at this right? Did Gerard stay out?
He did.
So he went 1 lap farther than Ulmer the first time. Looks like he's going to go 2 laps farther than Ulmer the second stint.
Well, that makes sense. If Ulmer's still running the same strategy, it'll compound. In fact, Kundinger and Mole stayed out. Billy Smith did not. Billy Smith is coming in, but he's still pretty safe at this point.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking, too, that even with the extended time at the end, Smith is probably good to go.
See how much the light is fading. We're still waiting on Stephen McGarvey to finally come in for a stop. I know we keep harping on this, but it's because of what you see there, a car that the ACO probably would not allow to keep running, especially not in this dim of conditions, but he's still deciding to stay out in that 4th position now that DeVries has overtaken him. He's lost about 5 seconds to deep freeze.
I don't understand his thinking, though, but...
He might not be aware that he's missing his headlights.
Hey, Kevin Santana has finally caught Dawson Brock for 2nd place in GTD. He makes a pass down the Mulsanne straight. He's still a little ways back of Lionel Duprat. Of course, these guys haven't even started their second round of stops yet.
Yeah, I'm seeing roughly 5 to 6 seconds between Santana and Duprat. They're split by Cancian, who's actually running on the same lap as them. He had a long stop to get some repairs, which we saw him going for earlier.
So if you think of it this way, Duprat and Brock and Santana are all relatively close. They're all going to make 2 more stops, and they're all going to take tires once, I think. That's, if I have that right.
Yeah, there's a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, Santana's got himself within 5 seconds of a lead, so maybe he can afford to take tires one more time, knowing his pace can get him up there. Of course, that's depending on the fact that Duprat and Brock both choose to take tires at some point, which we assume they will, but, you know, we've seen bigger surprises.
Watching Duprat on my screen at the moment. He's being chased by Cancian, who's looking to try and overtake him without interrupting him too much. I think he'll get a chance out of Maison Blanche here. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, Catching can't be in too much of a hurry. I mean, I know he wants to continue the race, but he's pretty much out of contention for any major positions in the prototype class.
And Gerard is pitting just behind them with his huge gap to the car behind him, Carter Kundinger, who, by the way, has not taken his pit either. What we're really watching to see how Gerard comes out in relation to Ulmer. Big Cheese is coming into the Porsche curves as he goes by Martin Roy in his GTD car. Up next is Matt Owens. Gerard has finally hit his stall. It's a long pit lane here at Le Mans. Kundinger's also come in. Dean Moll follows him, as we expected. Ulmer now through the Ford chicane. Gerard still stationary. Now he's going. Ulmer's got speed up. Gerard is past the cones. And it's going to be awful tight this time, actually. Ulmer just under braking, closing into the rear wing of Jason Gerard.
I think he needs to stay there.
Yeah,
I agree. But he had a bad run through the Dunlop chicane, so he fell off slightly. It's gone to about 1 second between them.
Hey, can we give a shout out to someone in GTD we haven't really mentioned at all today? Mike Major just passed Shane Hunter for 4th place, and I don't feel we gave him credit at all. I mean, he's had a nice solid run in the top 5 in GTD all race long.
And that's important because Major is 2nd place in the championship. He is only 9 points behind Santana. The bad news for him is that he's still behind Santana on track. So he needs to beat him if he wants to close that in for a championship run. Kevin O'Keefe also is the last of our prototypes for the 2nd pit stop. There's Kev topping off and then should be on his merry way. Warm-up lap machine out of his stall, past the cones, and accelerates away. Just as Leif Peterson, you can see, flash on by. Oh, and I'm curious how Ulmer's going to take watching this broadcast back. Because he once again is passing Gerard. I mean, maybe he knows something we don't, Bill. I don't know. He's been doing this a long time.
Maybe he's made his bed. He knows he can't do it on one more stop. I'm just going to race fast. Or maybe he knows that the other guys that you talked about, Sam talked about the extended time on the end. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's not a 2-hour race. Maybe it's 2 hours and 3 minutes. And they can't do it.
Could be.
I think he's in trouble personally. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're all flummoxed up here. Just not sure what exactly his idea is behind this.
Not sure what the word flummoxed means either.
Oh, you're British. You should know what flummoxed means. Anyways, so, we watch these two. They have checked out on the rest of the field. Carter Kundinger is your 3rd place car, and he is 34 seconds back. This one going a lot better than his race over in at the Ring in Germany.
The top 3 in GTD, Joe, are getting very close together. Because not only is Santana running Duprat down, which we kind of knew would happen, Brock is coming along with him too.
Interesting stuff from Dawson. So we kind of expected his race pace to bring him farther forward, but he's been impressing in this 2nd stint in the pit cycles. Kevin Santana now within a second of Duprat. He's got to be feeling a little bit of that slipstream.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if Duprat's tyres are hitting a bit of a cliff, because Santana's, I think he shaved 3 seconds off of him last time. Now, that could also have just been a mistake out of Duprat, but maybe that is an indication of how much tyres mean, because, boy, that's detrimental to the rest of the field. That's definitely, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not good. That Kevin Santana can take tyres and the rest of them can't, and Santana's still going to maybe end up in front at the end of this stint.
So what kind of ice cream would that be like?
Anything but chocolate chip cookie dough. Not as good.
But aren't we getting to the point now where maybe Duprat, this is his last stop coming up?
As we get a lot of cars in the pits, he would have to make it to about 40 minutes to go, Bill.
Okay.
I didn't see any kind of indication from the first round of stops that any of the GTDs can make it that long, but we'll find out.
Stephen McGarvey, by the way, there you see the car sans headlights finally hitting his stall. We'll have to check back in to see if he gets that front clip replaced in this pit stop.
Well, if it was at real life, you'd just get a couple flashlights and zip ties.
Paul Lindsay also in booth. Gralty, Hill. Oh. Ooh.
Santana just about to make this pass here, boys.
Yep, here he goes. He had a nice little run on Lionel Duprat, but didn't make anything happen with it.
This again is for the top spot in the GTD class. Duprat continues to retain the lead over Santana. Duprat, our previous winner from Germany. Santana, our current championship leader on points with only 1 win. Duprat, unfortunately, not really in the championship hunt right now, but if he can get another victory, I'd say that start to put him under consideration.
Well, they say the first win's always the hardest, so there was one could have said that maybe this win would come a bit easy for Lionel. However, looks quite tricky right now with Kevin Santana hounding him from behind. Now, this is a possible passing opportunity on the final lap. I think it would be a bit ambitious to do something at this stage of the race. Any of them going to come in? They're both coming in. So, can Kevin Santana win the race in the pits? Oh, is that going to cost him as time there, Drew?
I think he's going to get an unsafe pit entry on this one. So Kevin Santana, Lionel Duprat, cutting the course a little bit over the chicane into the pits. Little mistakes like that make a difference.
I'm not sure I see either car going up on the tracks.
Well, they put the fuel in first, I believe, do they not?
Yes.
Yeah, that would
So
explain.
we'll have to wait a little bit.
So I would think I think Santana is going to roll out of here comfortably ahead of these guys. He's not going to take tires.
We expect.
Duprat's going to serve the penalty.
There he goes.
Yeah. No tires for Santana. Duprat still stationary. We need to see if he takes a penalty as well as tires.
And Brock leaving the pits about the same distance behind Santana, so that it looks like Brock is on the same strategy as Santana here.
Well, kind of, but he didn't take... I got to make sure he didn't take tires the first time for Brock.
Wow, Duprat with a 55-second. Maybe he didn't get a penalty. Could have sworn that he was far enough inside that he would get pinged. But it was about the same amount of time as we saw when Santana took tires. 55, almost 56 seconds.
Maybe Santana got a penalty the first time too.
That could be.
It really looks like there's not a whole lot of strategy advantage to be played fuel-wise in GTD. Most of them all pitting on the same lap.
And seem to be running it just about as far as they can go on top of it. Josh Wolf with his unusual strategy that we're still not sure what has caused it is now in the pits, but will not be able to make it to the end with this third stop.
Seeing the battle in GTLM here between Lindsay and Booth working their way through the box curves, where we've seen quite a bit of drama today. Running down into the chicane. So, as we get ready for the, not necessarily the final stint, all these drivers are going to have to pit one more time, but the picture of a race is starting to be painted here, Joe.
Certainly is. We're getting an idea of who is in contention for the victory and who is well out of it by this point, but there are some question marks. We still kind of have question marks ahead of John Ulmer, though we think he can't make it. He has made no signs that he intends to try and stretch his fuel longer. Carter Kundinger certainly not in contention for the victory unless something wild happens with our top two, because Kundinger already 40 seconds back. If anything, it's a fight for the podium, the last podium spot. Billy Smith is within about 2 seconds of Kundinger.
Okay, I did a little research on the GTDs down there, so here's what's up. Santana, we know, took tires on his first stop, did not take tires on his second stop. Dawson Brock has not taken tires at all. And Lionel Duprat took it on his second stop, so we have 3 cars with 3 different strategies.
Oof, what is this going to do for Dawson's pace, though?
Well, we'll find out the hard way.
That was Mark Wilson that was lapping him. Yeah, will this be the first
spinner? We got Leif Peterson around from 8th place in prototypes, and he was riding just ahead of David Sockrider, but Sockrider got by without any issues.
Peterson was the one that spun here before, wasn't he? At the same spot in Indianapolis, coming out of it, if I can get my tongue under control. Yeah, you can see just has to sit and wait once again while the car's clear, because it's a blind corner there. Come back live. This puts him down in 9th position. This has been one to forget for the number 39.
Ulmer right behind Gerard.
I think they just swapped positions again. But they did not, I'm hearing.
Bad run out of there, loses little ground.
It is now past 10 p.m. virtual standard time. And Smith just managed to get himself into third. We were waiting on this one.
Yeah, he had got around Mole a few laps ago, and then he ran down Kundinger, and now he's up there. He is about 40 seconds behind.
Did Kundinger get a slowdown? Because it happened very suddenly. Yeah, I think he got a slowdown out of Turtle Rouge.
Yep.
Yep, all along the way. And yeah, that speed difference is not outbreaking, for those wondering. Carter Kundinger unfortunately paying for a mistake and easily handing a podium spot to Billy Smith.
For now.
And Smith is second in the championship, but again, much like we discussed earlier with Major, he's got to do a little bit better and beat Gerard. He's a number of points behind the O2 in the championship.
Guys, DeVries came in for his stop. Did I miss this, or did we talk about this? He's now the leader.
Believe we did.
He had a
No, I'm seeing
16-second
only
stop.
2 stops on debris. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, well, that's everybody. This is the...
Oh, he went long is what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, Young
Yes.
has 2, right? They're all on the same...
And if he stopped that time, you know, Bill, you kept harping on this point, and I thought for sure that we wouldn't see anybody do it. Could he get to the end from here?
Yeah, he's back. He's in third now.
Yeah,
in
that'd
third
be
with 40
tough.
minutes left to go.
Yeah, it'd be a tough ask, because he didn't just pit, he pitted a couple of minutes ago. So that would have been a little bit shy. He might be able to get away with a splash and go on his final stop, but I have a feeling he would have to pit again.
Meanwhile, as we ride on board with Turcotte, looking ahead at McGarvey. This is for 4th position. And Stevens still doesn't have lights on the car. I would love to know if somebody who is either on his team or if he's streaming or something could tell us if he actually can see headlights, if iRacing is still shows them on his end or what, because again, this should be getting a little bit darker pretty soon.
Alright, I've been waiting a couple of minutes to find the results, do a little bit of research here, let's find them out. Dawson Brock across the line on 1 hour old tyres, iRacing doesn't tell me the lap time. Okay,
Yep.
never mind.
He had to have had an off-track or slowdown penalty somewhere then.
Alright, we'll get back to this next lap.
For what it's worth, and this could be somewhat due to the slowdown, he's 12 seconds behind Santana, but 17 ahead of Duprette.
Oh, we got
Oh,
trouble
and
here.
McGarvey finds himself in more trouble. This one at Arnage. Tried to stay out of the back of Turcotte, who's close to, and spun the car, getting hard on the brakes. Come back live. He continues on, but he's now 6 seconds behind McGarvey. We got a battle behind him between Lindsay and Booth, and actually side by side into the Porsche curves. That's Booth in the Porsche. You see, leading Paul Lindsay's BMW into there. And Daniel Gralty, that is all 3 for position, specifically 6th. Right on board with Daniel. Let's stay with this, but I can tell you that Kundinger slipstreamed past Billy Smith for 3rd place back once again.
We're about 5 to 7 minutes away from finding out if Ulmer's been able to do any fuel saving.
So that's about 2 more laps that he's got to go, which is a lot. And to his credit, he's been dropping off of Jason a little bit, so I wonder if he has started saving fuel. It's about 3 seconds between them. He could be doing a little bit of lifting and coasting.
Honestly, I think he'd be saving more fuel by staying right on the back of Gerard.
You would think, but then all that stuff that we've predicted for Ulmer, he hasn't done. So Ulmer does what Ulmer does. On to the Mulsanne for this battle for 6th position. Ross Booth pulling a handy little gap over Paul Lindsay. Daniel Gralty now pulling into the slipstream of Paul Lindsay. Is he going to try and take a look? Nope, that's a lift. Ooh, how close he is though. Oh, and a much better exit off the corner. Lindsay slides back in behind him. Sam, I was mentioning a little bit earlier that Brock was 12 and some seconds behind Santana. Well, he hasn't completed a full lap yet, and I'm seeing it 13.6. I think he's significantly slower.
Yep. Although, to his credit, Kevin Santana has been the class of the field really today on GTD. That might not necessarily be tyre related. That could all be down just to pure pace. But I am curious to see what the lap times are. This time maybe we'll find out. Kevin Santana ran a 3:53, a 3:54 that time by Dawson Brock, who granted had to let a few prototypes by, so that might have cost him a little bit of time. But you can see his car wiggling coming out of a forward chicane. He crosses the line at a 3:56. And now, what do fresh tyres do for you? Lionel Duprat ran a 3:55 last time by. Can he back that up or even improve on it as he comes up the forward chicane third in GTDs, and across the line he runs a 3:56 as well. So that might have been a mistake or something from Duprat. His tyres not helping him out that time by.
Yeah, that those prototypes you mentioned going by were Leif Peterson and Kevin O'Keefe battling for position, which is going to be an easy battle now because Peterson went wide out of Tertre Rouge and O'Keefe is gone.
So I think in conclusion, Joe, I just said a lot of words, and the conclusive evidence points to Kevin Santana is faster and perhaps in a class of his own today in GTD.
Can we get a replay of an on-board actually with Peterson? Because this was a mighty save coming through Tertre Rouge. The car, he did get the spot back, you can see there. But we'll have to back up a little bit more. Yeah, we've got to back up more. Because this was coming out of the corner that leads onto the Mulsanne. There we go. Watch the hands on this one, as they'll take a little bit of grass to the left side. Well, it looked like a slide from above, unless we...
He is smooth.
Wonder if we went too far back or something there. Regardless, it was a great moment from my angle. So, we come back live and Peterson running in 8th position.
All right, where is John Ulmer on track?
Ulmer is still holding it around 2.5 seconds behind.
Okay, but the answer is he's on the Mulsanne Straight. No, sorry, this is run down to Indianapolis.
No, it's not. This
was run the first time. Yeah, Mulsanne Straight. Anyway, either way, he's on the backside of a circuit. And this time around, he'll be passing pit entry with about 31, maybe even the high 30 minutes to go. I would feel more comfortable if he could stay out another lap.
Not staying out. He's coming in this time.
Who's that car blinking behind him? Is that, Jay Friels? Yeah.
Jay reminding Ulmer to pit.
Wilson pitting one lap early himself. I'm pretty certain Wilson won't be able to make it to the finish because he's not going to get lapped here, it doesn't look like, at least on this time. Gerard's way too far back. Taking tires too while he is at it. There you see Gerard continuing to deal with the lap traffic. He goes by Matt Owens. I think we're getting one of our scheduled stops for the GTLMs. Chris Costa has pitted. So So is this starting to kick things off now that we're getting ready to hit that half-hour mark? Checking in on Booth and Gralty, but also I'm looking at the times of Dawson Brock, and it's now up to 15, almost 16 seconds behind Santana. I'm going to attempt a lap comparison, but I think it's probably going to show the same thing we saw in terms of laps missing.
John Ulmer having some heavy traffic to deal with as he comes through the Porsche curves. Right, is he going to come in? Yes, he has to come in. And so this is better though. Yeah, I mean, it's. I would have been really concerned if he came in a lap before, like Mark Wilson.
He went an extra lap this stint.
But is it enough? And also, the other thing is, even if it is enough, Bill, he was 3 seconds behind Gerard. Yep. He's obviously losing a bit of pace trying to save fuel. So, does he race for the win? Does he race for second? And, you know, we're going to have to wait and see.
You could have stopped after the first comment. Yeah, he went. He pitted at the end of lap 8. He pitted at the end of lap 16, and he pitted at the end of lap 25. So he went the extra lap this time.
Billy Smith is going to be able to get by him, but Smith not taking his service yet. Same thing with Kundinger. Those two still trying to settle that third position. Homer done with his stop and back out on the track and running. 29 minutes left to go.
The other thing that's going to hurt Ulmer here, especially if Gerard can stay out a couple more laps, is Gerard simply through saving fuel, he might not need as much fuel to complete the final stint. That could save him some time in the pits. That being said, I almost wonder if, since it is, you know, a bit on the edge of a fuel window and an extra lap around here is quite a lot of miles, I almost wonder if Gerard wants to go ahead and take a full tank anyway.
You know, I started to try and do some math to see how many laps it's going to take to get to the end, to see if they will have the extra lap, and then I abandoned that effort in my wisdom. John Ulmer returns to the track in 5th place. David Sockrider and Leif Peterson have pitted. Need to see. You know, we've been wondering about Duprat, and his last lap was a 3:54, which is actually the fastest of the ones he's run since the last pit stop.
Yeah, he's still significantly behind Brock, though. I can't imagine. I mean, we've seen these GTDs pit in like every 35 minutes or so. So they're not going to be pitting until about 20 minutes left on the clock. I don't see Brock taking tires at all this race.
Yeah, no, he won't. And I'd be surprised if we talked about Santana taking him on the first end and then on the last end. I don't think he'll take him either. There's not enough time to get the advantage of taking him.
Well, I mean, you could stop now.
Right.
But,
well, if you are going to take him,
stop now and not go long, yeah.
Mike Major is stopping now, the driver 4th in class.
Major not going to be able to make inroads into this championship hunt this time, just taking home some solid points, it seems, if things finish how they are.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta do that in the championship. Maybe this isn't Major's track and he just wants to come out here with a good finish. That was a quick stop.
Okay, so Vredick has run down Young now. He's been closing in on him. He is now real close. I wouldn't be surprised if Young made a mistake because he had a handful of second lead.
There we see him gaining on Mike Young as we ride on board with the number 21, looking back at the number 9. Oh, did something happen? Oh, sorry. I thought something happened to Billy Smith. Actually, no, wait. I think something did happen. Billy Smith was in an incident, and this was with Friels. He tried to
Jay
go
Friels
3 wide through
just got to
Maison
the pits.
Blanche.
He's crapping.
And it was bad enough that he had to tow, even though he was just a few hundred feet away from the pit entry. You're going to see he's it's going to be himself, Friels, and Ross Booth is on the other side of the car. And maybe he just did not expect that Ross Booth would be trying to make the pass at the same time as him. Friels certainly didn't expect it. He squeezed him over into the grass, and the hard hit into the wall.
And Friels came down pit road. He was able to drive down pit road, but his car was crapping significantly.
Yeah, I'm going to cut Friels a lot of slack on that. When he's got Booth to his left and he moves over and all of a sudden he's got the prototype to his right, he didn't expect that.
Well, and I mean, Smith was literally still off the track to try to make the move.
Yeah.
I may, for Friels fans, I may have actually made it sound worse, because there you see him rolling out of the pits already and his car's actually pointing straight, so he might actually have got away all right.
Well, that's good to hear for Friels. So yeah, I'm with you, Bill, that I think if we're going to put it on anybody, I think Smith maybe just kind of made an unwise move in the heat of the moment.
Friels has had an interesting race.
Yeah, he has.
I
think he'll come away with the top 10 out of it.
We're going to have one of those rare eclipse type situations here where all the leaders are going to be close together in a minute. I think they're all going to get there about the same time.
We are still waiting on Gerard to take his final stop, though.
You said eclipse time, and I was waiting for you to bring up Stephen McGarvey.
There you go. Now here comes Gerard. Coming up now, this is Duprat. He's racing third in class. Ahead of Duprat are Cerbredic and Young, the top two in the GTLMs. And not that far up is Brock and Santana. Well, my goodness, Santana really is up there, isn't he?
I don't think Gerard's going to be able to catch, they're all going to be able to catch each other before he has to pit. Oh, is he going to go to the left? This could be sketchy.
And he comes in. No. Oh,
he shot it.
Well, why was he pushing that hard, to be honest?
He might think he's still racing
I'll take
Ulmer.
that back, yeah. He is racing Ulmer, and Ulmer might be able to make it to the end.
Well, I feel pretty confident now that Ulmer's should be able to get there, because by the time he was out of the pits, it was under 30 minutes.
Is this a 15-second penalty? Is that what you were about to ask, Bill?
Yeah, that might be the race right there.
I don't know why he went to the left. And incredibly, if this does hand the lead over to John Ulmer, this will be win number 3, will it not, for him?
I'll check, but here comes Ulmer through the Ford chicane right now.
Ulmer won at Daytona. He won at Mosport by 1,000th of a second.
Ulmer's
It was
going to go by
23
him.
seconds stationary for Ulmer.
And even if Ulmer is struggling on fuel, this mistake by Gerard gives Ulmer the opportunity to save a bit here.
Yep.
I think it was a 10-second penalty looking at it. Gerard 12 seconds longer in his stall than John Ulmer. Of course, it could have been a 15 and maybe he was taking a shorter stop on fuel, but regardless, the damage has been done. He's got 7.8 seconds to make up. Mole coming out. Kundinger is coming onto the front stretch, but not in time to take third away. What a run by Dean Mole this has been. Something of just a quiet run.
Got a battle shaping up in GTOM between Daniel Grolty and Ross Booth. They're side by side down the Molson Straight.
They see
Booth
him
was
on
the one
screen.
with Slipstream, and Booth is the one who completes the part.
If Mole can bring this home, this will be his second podium of the season.
Now we can watch this battle. Another thing we're going to want to check here in a minute is Mike Young is going to be making his stop in about another 45 seconds. And Cervetic has already made his, and they were just a couple car lengths apart.
Looking back at the BMW. A bit of a defensive line into the Michelin chicane. Gralty stays right with him. Excuse me, yes, Gralty stays right with Booth. He's going to get another shot at it if he wants it. But he makes a big lift on their way over the hump towards the Mulsanne corner. Keith takes his final stop of the night.
Sorry, viewers. Giving you a lot of stats here, but the interval between Gerard and Ulmer, Ulmer's got about 8.5 seconds on him. You can see it up there.
GTD leaders still need to make their final stops. I don't anticipate a lot changing at the front in the class there. And as much credit as we've gave Kevin Santana for really running away with this race at this point, you also need to sing the praises of Dawson Brock. I know he hasn't taken tyres, but going from 10th to 6th.
We had a question mark about Jason DeVries, and the answer to the question is yes, he does have to pit again because he is in.
Young is in also, so now you want to pick up Cervetic. Cervetic just heading towards Corvette.
Dennis out of Maison Blanche now.
DeVries finds his stall. His stop might be a little shorter. He might have a little more fuel than the other guys.
Shane Hunter kicking off the GTD stops as well as we watch this battle.
Cervetic on the front straight.
Mike Young is out. DeVries is almost out. Cervetic goes by the start-finish line, but he is not quite up to Young.
Young stopped 12.8 in the box. Cervetic's 13.2. That's a half-second difference. About the same cone to cone. A little faster, actually, cone to cone for Young.
Oh, but Young has to worry about an accident right in front of him.
Guess who
John
it is?
Ulmer. That's our leader. That's our overall leader. Gerard is gaining fast, and Gerard's back into the lead due to that mistake with 18 minutes left to go.
How do you chase peas in French?
Fromage, if I'm not mistaken.
It's off the pizza, baby.
I got the better question is how do you say pizza in French? Wow. That one moment could have changed the lead for two classes. Thankfully, only one of them. I'm sure Ulmer not all that thankful, though. Scrambled things up, Sam, and made it an omelette du fromage.
Yeah, technically it's meant to be omelette au fromage. Hold on, trying to...
Are you looking at pizza right now? Is that what's
Yes,
distracting you?
yes, that is
Yeah, I
exactly
figured
what
you
I'm
were.
doing. Hey, can I point out something race-related while I'm doing that? Nighters came in, and it's making it really dangerous to be around Steve McGarvey. Let's put a camera on him, and yes, when we put a camera on him, there is a car there. You might not see it now.
You can kind of see it. Our cameras are lighting it up a little bit more than what you could see out there. And there are little bits of light along the Mulsanne. You could see he's flashing past those.
Get a fix-it ticket.
Yeah, really. And again, if this was real life, you would, I mean, the stewards would tell him that he'd have to come in. This is unsafe, but and I guess, boy, the day that iRacing implements that, that'll annoy a few people.
It looks like it's just pizza. Must have the same one.
Well, that makes... Ulmer has not given up the hunt here. He's got some steam on that pizza right now, and he's just right there. They just got around Mike Young, who's the leader in GPLM. Young's got to watch out too. Soretti's only about 2.7 seconds back.
To answer your question, it is le fromage est hors de la pizza. Cheese is off the pizza.
That one's going in the bank for next year.
When you said pizza at the end there, that was the French word for pizza.
Thank you.
So how far is Ulmer behind Gerard? It's not that much. So even though he's lost the lead here, it's not over.
That's what Bill was just talking about. Is it's within a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
could
was
get the
finding out
back.
what pizza was. Okay.
You were this. I got it.
Priorities here in the booth. And they don't have to worry if they start fighting because Dean Mole 37 seconds back. The game is on.
2 seconds between Young and Soretic, and less than that between less than a second between Gerard and Ulmer.
Ross Booth fighting with Daniel Gralty. He loses out to Daniel, who slips into the top 5 in the GTLM class. We ride on board with Booth. And they're both in.
Still waiting for our GTD leaders to come in too. All right, so what's going to happen here?
They're followed in by Dave Hill. And Stephen McGarvey also in.
Yeah,
Is he
I
finally
could tell
going to
that
take
one.
the repairs that he needs? Yeah, I mean, 14 more minutes, I guess, if you survive this far.
Oh, that was Booth. Overshot his pit stall. That will cost him a little bit.
Gralty is gone, and Booth's mistake is very costly. All of them trundling out. In fact, Booth lost out, did he not? Actually, wait, did Gralty just have an incredibly quick stop?
Well, yeah, because they don't need that much fuel to get to the end.
Yeah, but Booth should have had the same.
Yeah, but he
And so
overshot his stall, and he might... are you wondering perhaps if Gralty took enough fuel to get to the end?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm just a little confused right now. Stephen McGarvey came back out, but I do not think he still has headlights. He did have a long stop, I want to point out, and that's why he's in the mix, down in 7th, at 26 seconds stationary compared to the 14 of Dave Hill and 11 for Ross Booth flanking him. But I guess if McGarvey hangs out with the other cars around him now that he's got some light.
Yeah, I really think... Honestly, I think that is a legitimate reason to be running behind another car for him. He might struggle to see otherwise.
Maybe he doesn't have a light anymore. Ross Booth just spun in the Forza chicane, lost control of it. This was pretty much all on his own. He did have McGarvey in front of him at the time, but I don't think that threw him off. This looks like simple driver error. Perspective from the TMC Clover driver.
And as we come back to live action, Kevin Santana is coming in, and will probably bring the rest of the GTD leaders with him. It is indeed Dawson Brock is coming down pit road. I won't be surprised if we see the aim from Duprat and co. And I can't imagine anyone will be taking tyres with just 11 minutes left to go in the race.
Yep, it's too late for that. You've made your bed. Kind of surprised by that. I would have thought at least somebody would have pitted early to take advantage.
Oh, Santana barely stopped.
Wow. 5 seconds in his stall. Dawson Brock a little bit longer. Is he taking tires, maybe? No, he's not. 13 seconds for Dawson.
I'd be a little worried about Santana.
Dawson, though, retains second place. Well, I wouldn't think he would need a whole lot of fuel. 10 minutes that he has to make here.
Look in front of Lionel Duprat's car there. Chris Costa has a lot of damage on it in pit road, and I think that's recent.
It is. He's been in there for about a minute. But Costa was well down the order already, so I'm not sure. If we find it, we might be able to pull a replay up. Let's see if we can figure out what happened, because we got some time right now. There's not a lot of action out on track. Out of Arnage, everything looked fine there. So maybe into the Porsche curves.
Would make sense. That's why we've seen a lot of drama today.
Coming up here in a moment. It's a tricky braking zone into this corner. Nothing as of yet. Car still looks pretty stable. Oh, and it was bridge. Oh. Wow, that was a hard one. Rushed the bridge. The outside green wall a little bit. Yep, he did. That set him off. And the spin from there, there was just no catching it because there's no runoff in that portion of the track. Let's get back to our overall leaders, Gerard and Ulmer.
Ulmer had it down to 0.7 of a second, but then traffic crushed him, and he got it. He lost about twice that. He went back to about 1.5 seconds. He has closed it down now to single digits.
How much do you think Ulmer's just biding his time here, making sure he has enough fuel to get to the end and then hitting the loud pedal a bit harder and racing Gerard to the checkered?
From what I know of Ulmer and from what I've seen of these two in the past, I think they're both flat out. I think this is a sprint to the finish for them. And I'm kind of wondering, as Dave Hill is off track for some reason. This was in the Forza chicane. Just out-braked himself. Went across, and I think he managed to stop it before he hit the tires. Contact. Maybe the lightest of touches. You can get away with that one. He runs in 7th place, and I think that lost him position because I believe he was ahead of Stephen McGarvey at the time.
Can we pick up Kevin Santana on camera? I think he's disappeared.
I think you're right.
We cannot. Has Kevin Santana lost the connection while dominating the race in the closing moments, leading the GTD class, handing the win over to Dawson Brock?
He was starting to slow at the time. It could be that he had...
Did he go off?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I was trying to see. It looked like he might have gone a little bit off, but if he was slowing, I wonder if it was the case of he was losing his internet connection. He couldn't see anyone, and he was trying to get out of the way.
No, my point here, Joe, is did he hit 48 incident points?
Yeah, and that is a possibility.
Well, it's saying now he has lost the connection.
Yeah, I think it was
We're being told that whatever happens, Santana is out of this race, and all of a sudden, a race that looked like it was his for the taking has just been handed over to Dawson Brock, who started 10th in class.
And is going to continue his record if he stays where he is, of winning every single race he shows up for.
And I would have not thought that, to be honest.
This is just wild. It amazes me the ability that this number 83 has. And Ulmer has dropped back. Bill, I don't know if
Yep.
you've been watching this. It's up to
Yeah.
2.2.
It's all traffic. He got behind, now don't get confused, behind Gerard Gilbert. And he just got stuck there at the worst possible place. Pretty much broke his light flashing button to try to get around Gilbert and is now 2 seconds. Ulmer is quick enough, and I think he still has time to get there.
Guessing the next addition that Ulmer's going to make on his HPD is a horn.
Yeah.
The way things are going.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty clear cut, guys. Jason Gerard is going to cross the line with about 4.5 minutes to go, I would say. So that's going to be 2 to go when he comes to the line.
Meanwhile, I just want to talk about Mike Young. He was, remember, after that spin that went on that involved Ulmer, Savretic was right behind him within like a second and a half. Mike Young has earned this one. He has driven away from Dennis Savretic. This one, he's the quickest out there, beating Savretic and DeVries.
And this is important because Mike Young is third in the points. He's a little ways back from Simonic, about 31 points behind.
Yeah, but you start adding in what Simonic did today, not that much.
Exactly. Last win for him came at Road America in round 6. He had a poor one at the Nürburgring in 15th, and he's rebounding today with authority. Seeing Kevin O'Keefe having disappeared as well. And I think this was simply O'Keefe seeing he was well down the order because I'm not seeing any sort of incident. He just pulled into the pit lane and then disappeared. So it's been a long race. He's got kids to take care of. It was probably him deciding he's tired. It's a long day. Let's not wear myself out any more than I need to.
This is looking good for Jason now. It's up to about 5.5 seconds. Again, Ulmer might have the pace. I don't know about fuel, though. That was always an issue with John.
Well, you're saying 5.5 seconds. It was 4 seconds at the line. So Ulmer has lost out a whole second in the first sector. Is he doing that because he's saving fuel?
Yeah,
it looks like it because he didn't hit any traffic at all. He's got to be trying to save fuel here. Jason Gerard looks to have played the game that little bit better than John Ulmer.
Honestly, I don't know why Ulmer's risking it now. But, he could pit and still come out in second.
This will be win number 5 for Jason Gerard at this rate.
Still not sure.
The Michelin chicane. Go ahead.
Still not sure how McGarvey hasn't crashed yet.
He's still running P6.
Can we ride on board with him, Director?
Yeah, why not? So that looks pretty light.
Well, we're in the mid portion
Dave
of
Hill.
the circuit. We should do it the other side of the circuit.
Well, he also has Dave Hill behind him. And that is for position. Hill's going to get the run out of the Maison Blanche. And then down into the forward chicane. Oh, and Dave Hill completely cuts through there. What happened?
Maybe he didn't know where his competition was.
I had the Phantom behind him. That's scary.
Yeah, he did pull in front of him a little late. Maybe he lost sight of his brake marker. Just took the shortcut through. Knew that he was going to get a slowdown. Knows that he's faster than Steve and is already actually right behind him once again. They work their way up towards Tertre Rouge onto the dark side of the track. Who is this with them?
tell you, on the light side of the track, there's a HPD coming around the start-finish line, and he should be getting the 1 to go signal. And that is Jason Gerard. Wonder what's happening behind him. Ulmer's going to stay out.
Now would be a good time to go on board McGarvey. Yeah, his immediate surroundings certainly are not very well lit. He's once again getting a couple cars behind him. This one being Josh Wolf, and actually for position Paul Lindsay gating on him now. It looks like McGarvey's limping a little bit, unless he is actually just going slow because of not being able to see. John Ulmer seems to have saved enough fuel because he has cut it down to 4.5 seconds now.
Yeah, they had to deal with a little bit of traffic, Gerard and Ulmer, but they're on the final lap. And unless a big misfortune happens unto Gerard, I don't see him losing this race.
Jason Gerard has half a lap to go. He's coming through the Forza chicane. I believe it's going to be him across the line first, then Mike Young in GTEs, and eventually Dawson Brock, because Dawson's way too far ahead for him to be lapped. With the SRN Motorsports driver. That car ahead is Christopher Sherburne.
Oh, isn't it nice to have headlights?
Actually, is he coming up to McGarvey? No, he's not. He's not going to be able to catch him.
So they come. We're looking at Gerard. So what you're saying is, this is Mulsanne than this road right here. Is that what you were telling me, Joe?
That's what I've been told.
Okay.
I was told this by an Austrian, though, so
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, how well does he know French roads?
Wait, is this Stefan Schlager or is he Hungarian?
You're just trying to get under his skin now.
Wilson could not make it. Remember, he pitted a lap before Ulmer. And now, this will probably cost him a couple positions, actually.
Wilson stranded on an island of his own, unfortunately, in terms of fuel. Not so for Gerard, who just exits out of Arnage up to the Porsche curves. Ulmer gains a little bit. Again, it is up to 3.2 behind him. It's looking like a little bit too little, too late for the big cheese. He could have potentially had a third win, but not quite playing the fuel strategy game the same way that Jason Gerard has scuppered his opportunity. Out of karting, Drew Maison Blanche. Just one more set of corners to go. The Ford chicane for Jason Gerard. Left and a right, and then a left and a right. And this makes win number 5 for Jason Gerard in France. Young, who right on board with, leads by 8 seconds over Denis Savretic. This is a driver who has improved greatly over the years. When you are faster than Denis Savretic, Bill, that says something.
Yeah, and he was indeed. This last stint, he just took it to him. Reddick was there, and said, not today. And we talked about it with Simonic having issues. This is going to help Young in the points big time.
Took off like a shot. The number 21 himself approaching the Porsche curves. This will be a very handy victory in terms of the championship hunt. He's had one other one this season. This will make number 2. And while he came into this race third in the points, how far back actually was he from Stephen McGarvey a fair few points back, so probably not going to be able to move himself up into second on the points, but will chip away heavily considering Stephen McGarvey is continuing to fall back in the darkness, quite literally. Mike Young, out of the Ford chicane, wins here in the GTLM class.
And not too far behind them, Dawson Brock. I don't know if he's already celebrating by flashing his headlights or telling Art Peck up the road that he's coming around. But boy, I've got to be honest, I did not expect this. I know he was only able to get one time qualifying lap in, and that saw him 10th. And then we saw what happened at the end of his second qualifying attempt. He had to crash, so maybe he could have been much further up the grid, and we should have seen this coming all along. But really, it was a bit of a gifter with Kevin Santana's connection issues, but Dawson Brock was there to pick up the pieces. 10th to second was impressive. 10th to first is stupendous, especially on tyres that have done the whole race. The competitors huffed and they puffed, but they could not blow down the house of Brock. Here he comes, 4 wins in 4 races.
Unbelievable. Duprat is going to be able to take home second, so another podium for the number 18 behind him. I can tell you that Savretic took second, Ulmer took second in GTLM and Prototype respectively. Mole coming up for his third place finish on the podium in the Prototypes. De Vries managing a third in the GTLMs, and Shane Hunter as well with a very handy third place down in the GTDs. So as Hunter comes across the line, I believe no battles are left, so why don't we take a little bit of a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back after this with all the upcoming races on your screen, and then we'll show you the unofficial results as well as bring you the driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Le Mans, France. We just watched the most recent round of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, and it was Jason Girard, after 2 hours, who took away the victory. It looked like maybe he was going to throw it away with a bad pit entry. Then John Ulmer himself had his own mistake and threw away what was going to be a win for him. His third of the season. John Ulmer did come home in second. Dean Mole, who I think deserves a lot of credit to get third, finished way far back, unfortunately, but still managed to triumph where others did not, considering so many fell by the wayside. Carter Kundinger took fourth, with Leif Peterson finishing P5, not without a few spins along the way. Josh Wolf, one of the few drivers to have to take an extra stop, unfortunately, finished sixth, and David Sockrider seventh. The last to finish on the lead lap in the prototypes is Mark Wilson, but then you get back into the DNFs behind them that won't show up. Kevin O'Keefe, Billy Smith, Robert Kanchan, Sheldon Rosenbaum, and Cy Andra all DNF today. Bill?
Mike Young came into this race 31 points behind the lead, but with Alex Simonek, the points leader, nowhere to be found. This win is really going to help out Young in the standings. Dennis Savrenik finishes second. Jason DeVries followed everybody around. He'll finish in third. A very quiet fourth place for Olivier Turcotte. Dave Hill was able to sneak around Daniel Gralty when Gralty ran out of fuel. Hill will get fifth, Gralty in sixth. Paul Lindsay, Ryan Huff, and then Stephen McGarvey was able to bring the car home in the dark in what would be ninth position, and he's going to fall in the points as well, as he was sitting second coming into this round. Now we'll go ahead and give it over to Sam to talk about his group.
Yeah, here we go. So it was Dawson Brock taking a bit of an unexpected win, to be honest, over in GTD. Even though he had been 3 for 3, he went 4 for 4 today, ahead of Lionel Duprat and Shane Hunter, the Pride rounding out the podium. Mike Major comes home in 4th place in GTD, ahead of Christopher Sherburne rounding out the top 5, and then you get Matt Owens, Jay Frills. He definitely had an interesting race, but ended up ultimately losing that battle with Owens down there in 7th, ahead of Martin Ray, Gerard Gilbert, and Art Peck. Now we get to the drivers who ran in trouble for a variety of reasons, most of which were covered during the broadcast, so let's just go ahead and read them out here. Ross Booth, Kevin Santana, Billy Smith, Chris Costa, Marty Jeffries, Robert Kansian, Alex Simonek, Sheldon Rosenbaum, Tyler Gilmet, Cy Andra, Alan Hessebeck, Kurt Gross, Joey Trangale, Paul Slavonic, Mark Kudrowski, Tim McLeish, and Dino Topic did not start.
Our winner is ready to come and talk to us, of course. Jason Girard with the victory today. Jason, it seemed like we were mostly on your side in terms of which we felt was the better fuel strategy, but then your last stop happened and you had a bit of a shaky entry. Were you initially regretting trying to overtake that lapped car on your way in?
Yeah, in hindsight, I definitely was. I thought I could make it. In fact, I probably could have. I just left my braking a little bit too late. I didn't expect him to come in behind me in the pits, so that kind of surprised me a little bit. But yeah, I lost 15 seconds as a result of that. Obviously, I would have been preferred to stay behind him, but when you're staying behind him, you're losing seconds just waiting. So I knew it was going to be close coming out of the pits with Ulmer, so I was just trying to squeeze every second I could.
How much were you using the draft between you and Ulmer to try and save a little bit more fuel? Because it did seem like you consistently went a lap longer than him.
I think in the first stint with the warm-up lap, it was kind of hard to get to 9 laps, but after that, I actually didn't really need the draft that much. I was pretty much, for my practice, able to do 9 laps just with maybe a little lifting and coasting and then just taking advantage of lap traffic, but I was pretty consistent being able to maintain 9. I was hoping that John was going to not realize that on his 3rd and 4th stint, and that maybe he'd have to take an extra stop, but I wasn't lucky.
Seems like we've been heading to a few tracks where this is something of a theme with the fuel saving, because we were at the Nürburgring where that was a feature for at least one driver, and now we came to Le Mans. Next, we're going to Monza. Will it be a little bit safer than seasons past there now that you guys have increased the fuel cells?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can safely make it on 2 stops. There's not going to be a fuel race anymore there, which is good because it means everybody can just drive hard and not have to worry about lifting and coasting all the time.
All right. Well, we look forward to that hard racing as Ulmer's probably going to be coming back and trying to fight you for another victory. Congratulations on number 5.
Yep. Thanks, Joe.
Jason Gerard, our winner here today in the prototypes. Up next, Bill's going to be talking to our two-time victor, Mike Young.
Mike, earlier on, you're back there in about 4th position behind Savretic and Simonik and McGarvey, and they get together, and all of a sudden you find yourself in 2nd.
Yeah, some really lucky stuff happened for me to even be able to get back up there. This is a track where you need a lot of luck and not so much the pace, and today it really worked out in my favor.
Then you got around Savretic. We get to that very last pit stop. He came out close behind you. First of all, got a little exciting there with Ulmer and that going on.
Yeah, definitely some tricky traffic situations out there. Poor Simonik kind of got the raw end of some of that deal. It was actually a lot closer with Savretic because we ended up coming up on a GTD car coming through the Porsche curves, and he really came up right behind me. So yeah, I thought I saw him duck in early for the pits, and I was coming up on lap traffic the next lap, so it happened to work out where I think we both kind of benefited from that early stop. But yeah, very close at the end, and I think I got more luck as he got a few slowdowns as well.
Yeah, and then you were able to drive away from him there at the end. I gave you credit for that one. He was just a couple seconds back, but that lasted. You were really strong. Any problem in the darkness?
No problem for me. I do want to give a shout out to my teammate Steve McGarvey, who ran most of the race without any headlights whatsoever. A true champion finishing that race.
Got it. Congratulations on the win. It's going to be a good points day for you with Simonik having trouble and McGarvey will down the order. You'll be a lot closer to the top.
Yep, it's been a great day. Hopefully continues on during the season.
All right, good luck. We'll see you down the road. Mike Young, your winner in GTLMs. Joe?
Yep, next we've got Sam talking with a man who's not only good with his voice on the mic, but good with his car, Dawson Brock.
Yeah, Dawson, 4 wins in 4 starts. However, I've got to imagine you had your doubts on this one.
Yeah, no, this was, I wasn't even expecting to make the race. Some stuff got done early, and I was like, I had 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm going to try and make it in there for the race. I didn't even think I was going to be able to qualify, get into the car, find a setup from season 1 of this year, throw it in the car, and just kind of worked our way through it. Started out not too strong, worked our way up through the field, and did what we've done all year, which is be clean, be consistent. I don't think I had a single incident the entire race, and we just got into a spot where we were sitting in 2nd place. I had somebody running fuel numbers for me, trying to see if we could maybe stretch it and get around Kevin that way, but Kevin was just hands down the fastest car on the track, and he deserved that win 100% had he not had his internet go out. So while the 4 for 4 and all that, this doesn't feel like a win. I don't know how we've got, I don't know how this keeps happening.
What could have you done in qualifying? Because we saw you have, a couple more attempts at setting a lap, but then you went off at the end on your final lap. I don't know if that was you giving up or whatever. What was 10th an accurate representation of where you think you belong?
At the time, yes, I was very new. I had zero practice for this race. It was one of those things. It was the entire thing was just thrown together at the last minute. I know LeMans enough, but it took that practice and qualifying, and I did throw the car off because I got an off track, and after that I knew that was the lap, so I just got angry and threw it into the wall. But no, I think 10th was an accurate representation of where I was at that point. As the race went on, we found pace and we found time, and the setup that I did find turned out not to be half bad. So I think that all kind of added up to it.
How were the tires holding up? Because forgive me if I'm mistaken here, I don't think you took tires already.
Nope. No, we didn't take tires at all. We had guys were working. I had some of the Grizzly guys. We were working on Spa GT3, so they've been kind of working with that. And we basically made the call. We're not going to take tires. We're the underdog in this race. We're way back in the pack. That's the only way we're going to make up time. And so not taking tires ended up giving me enough time to get to the front of that pack. And by the end of the race, the tires, but we had to do it. We didn't really have a choice.
The last thing I'll say, when you cross the line, I said the competitors huffed and puffed, but they couldn't take down the House of Brock. Can I keep saying that? I'm quite pleased with that.
I go for it. I don't care until it does blow down, because as you know that no, the house times no, I'm afraid the house eventually will. I'm not that confident. I'm not. We're going to European tracks. I'm better at the American tracks. The European tracks, the house might blow down. So it's go ahead and keep saying it. I like the saying, but yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Dawson, and we'll see you around.
All right. Yep. See you guys.
That was Dawson Brock, who won over in the GTD class. Next, we're going to talk to second place in the prototypes, John Ulmer, since I got to talk to Jason Girard. John, well, we were trying to figure out how to say cheese and pizza in French, but you were focused, hopefully, on the fuel. Do you regret the fuel strategy that you chose? Because we were a little bit critical of it, but it worked out better than we thought in the end.
Just all depended on how many laps we're going to go. If we had to do one more lap, I was going to be in trouble. Pate, Jason, and I putting that kind of pace in to where we had to do that extra lap to begin with. If we'd have been 15 seconds slower, actually, I don't even know if it was that much, we would have gotten a white flag the lap before, and that's kind of what I was playing for. I pitted a lap early on the first one just to try to get a little distance between us so I could maybe break that draft. Because when you come out of the pits and the guy has already been out, he's going to be faster because his tires are already warm. So that's why the first stop I pitted early to try to take advantage of that. But then, Mr. Slowdown reared his head. The cheese is gone. I'm Mr. Slowdown when we're here.
Well, I mean, you weren't alone, honestly. We saw lots and lots of slowdown penalties today, and some of them for incredibly good drivers, including yourself.
Yeah,
but
you can't do that with Girard, though. You can't make those kinds of mistakes around him. I mean, I was fortunate with all the slowdowns I had, and then the spin. I was fortunate that he had a penalty in the pits to even keep me close to him. You can't do it. You have to race better than that to beat him. But it was fun. Was it fun for you guys? Because it was sure fun for me in the race.
Well, it kept us on our toes. We had question marks over our head the whole way, wondering is John going to make it to the end? Is fuel tight for him? And can he manage to beat Girard? Speaking of which, I asked Girard about next round. He said that it should be more flat out with the bigger fuel cells at Monza. Are we going to see another round, I guess round 3 or 4, who knows at this point, between you two trying to duke it out for the victory over in Italy?
Absolutely. And if you check the world record page, you'll see my name at the top of it for Monza. So I plan on winning that race, even though it doesn't matter. I mean, Jason's already sealed the championship at this point because he'd have to have just the worst luck known to man, and it's just not going to happen. I can win the rest of the races. He'll finish second or third every time, and he'd still win the championship. So at this point, I'm just trying to put some in the win column and just race for fun and pride.
Well,
things will
John,
slide my way, but I doubt it.
Well, regardless, John, you did manage second place today, and congratulations on that.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it, guys.
That was John Ulmer, and he's pessimistic, but the racing gods are fickle. In the meantime, we've got one quick interview. Soup is going to talk to Carter.
Carter Kundinger finished in 4th today. Carter, I was watching you. You raced with Billy Smith early on, then you had Dean Mole behind you, and then Smith got around you, and Mole got around you, end up in 4th. Uneventful day for you? No crashes?
I mean, for the most part, yeah. I think you may or may not have heard it from other people, but I'm sure the big issue with most people, with me too, was slowdowns. The slowdowns are what got me. So, like right at the beginning, I had a slowdown that sent me all the way from like 4th to 9th, and I had to climb my way all the way back up. And it was just weird because every time I tried to catch Dean Mole towards the end of the race, I'd pull into like 2 seconds, then I'd get a slowdown and fall all the way back. So yeah, that was just kind of my issue. But no, I mean, other than that, really, it was a pretty clean race for me, other than right at the end when I was just trying to push too hard and ended up losing it in the Ford chicanes. But that's, yeah, the chances of me catching Dean at the end were very slim.
Yeah, well, join the club for slowdown penalties. That it was having it. Hey, congratulations on getting it home. Good points day for you. finishing fourth. We'll see you down the road.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you, guys.
Carter Kundinger, Joe.
Fourth place finisher in the prototypes, and that's going to close things up for today. A big thank you goes out to the Autobahn series for bringing us back for another season of coverage. We've covered pretty much every single season except for the first one, and we've enjoyed every single one. Also, a big thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Sam, Sean, and Dougie, and a little bit of help in the background that we had from John Ambrose as well. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it on our website, which is globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media, though. We have a Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_RAM. Head on over to our YouTube page when you get the opportunity, because if you haven't subscribed, you'll notice there's a big red button that says subscribe. Click that. Get all of the Autobahn series in your YouTube feed each and every round. Next race, as we mentioned, we are going to Monza, over to Italy from France. That'll be Monday, July 29th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.